Morning, everybody, and welcome you to the October 7th, 2025 meeting of the Calvert County Board of Commissioners. At this time, I'd like to ask Pastor Blakely if he would come forward and give us an invocation, please.
Praise me, please. Heavenly Father, Lord, just thank you for letting us be here today, Lord. Lord, thank you for the work that takes place in this county. Lord, thank you for the commissioners that are here. Lord, I just ask your blessing upon this county, Lord, upon the citizens that are here, Lord, upon the first responders, upon all the workers, Lord. Lord, I just ask that this be a time of coming together as community, as government, as people seeing things equally. And Lord, I just ask that your blessings upon this time and this place, and your work is done. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So I want to thank Pastor Blakely. He comes to us today from Calvary Bible Church in Lusby. Yeah, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I just have a couple items under public service. Oh, I got to approve the agenda first. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda as presented?
I have none. I make a motion that we approve the agenda as submitted.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as submitted. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. As I said, a couple items under public service announcements today. The Lower Marlboro Freedom Day celebrations coming up. All citizens are invited to celebrate Calvert County history during Lower Marlboro Freedom Day. It's commemorating the freedom of 14 people who escaped slavery with the help of the British during the War of 1812. The celebration will be held on Saturday, October the 18th from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. with events at Lower Marlboro United Methodist Church located at 6519 Lower Marlboro Lane in Owings, and Lower Marlboro Hall located at 3911 Lower Marlboro Road in Owings. Festivities will include a walking tour, speakers, food, and exhibits. The second item on the list today is the Huntingtown Master Plan Town Center's public meeting. The Calvert County Department of Planning and Zoning invites citizens to a public input meeting on Tuesday, October the 14th at 6 p.m. at the Huntingtown Volunteer Fire Department to learn about the Huntingtown Town Center Master Plan Survey and share their feedback. The public may attend in person or watch virtually on the county YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/calvertcountygov/streams. All questions and comments may also be submitted to Tay Harris, Long Range Planner, at 410-535-1600 extension 2333, or to tay.harris@calvertcountymaryland.gov. We did hold the St. Leonard Town Hall meeting last night at the church, Crossroads Church there in St. Leonard's. We had a pretty good attendance and a very good discussion, so we'd encourage you, those interested in the Huntingtown Master Plan, to please come out on October the 14th, 6 p.m. at the Huntingtown Volunteer Fire Department. Last item is our Animal of the Week. I heard a dog barking in the hall, so we have a pair of dogs today. Puppies.
We don't get these often, so I figured.
So you guys have outdone yourselves today. Look
my
at these
God.
cutie pies.
One, right?
One on us gonna be a beast. Look at his
So
legs.
this here
Yeah.
is Karen and Rand. They came in as strays with their mom. They were found just roaming around. We have them estimated at about 8 weeks or so, we think. They're very playful, definitely puppies. They've all been in foster with different staff members. A couple of them have proven to be already pretty much potty trained. I think this one in particular loves fetch. So
They are gorgeous.
up on the website and ready for foster to adopt. They are scheduled for their neuters on Thursday.
So what kind of mix do you think they are?
Shepherd of some sort.
Yeah.
Yeah, mom looks like shepherd, maybe mixed a little bit. We're not unsure of what dad might have been. But
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
The one on the
he's
right,
definitely
he's
one to
gonna be, yeah, you're gonna have to watch him. Yeah, don't leave your shoes around, you know. I bet you he's gonna be a chewer there, yeah.
And he was good with his foster. There was kittens and another dog in the home, and he did well with it. So, along with him, he did well with his doggy friend. So
Mike feels like, Commissioner Hart feels a kindred spirit with that one on the right, I think. I can tell the way he's looking at him.
Yeah, yeah. But that one on the left looks like a sheriff dog. You know, I could so see that as like the
Yes.
mascot of the sheriff's office. You
Yes.
know, I don't know where
There you go,
it is. It's
Sheriff.
got a feeling, you know.
So, but yeah, come on down and visit the pups and maybe find yourself a new fur friend. We also have her mom, who is also very sweet. She's a little
How old's the
nervous at
mom?
first, but maybe 2. Yeah.
Oh,
1 or
wow,
2-ish, yeah. So she's still young. I know you want to get down and play. But yeah, come on down if you can adopt. Come donate, volunteer. We could use all the puppies love all the walks and cats love the cuddles. So shoot on down.
And they're free for adoption until we meet again.
Yeah.
The one on the left is laid back.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been the most laid back of all. So
He's been living with me since Friday evening, and this has been the easiest puppy I've ever fostered. So
I don't know how you let him go.
they become annoying at some point. Yeah.
Don't say that on camera.
No, we gotta let him go so we can foster the next one.
That one on the right, boy, those shoes ain't safe. Those socks ain't
It's-
safe.
it's big.
They're gonna be big dogs.
Yeah,
they
they
got big
are.
feet.
They
Yes.
definitely need a place with some room. They are gorgeous.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, good
see
luck.
you
We hope
next
somebody comes and makes them a forever home.
time. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Have a great day. So the next item on the agenda is a recognition of the Calvert County Sheriff's Office new correctional deputy introduction. Sheriff Cox. Well,
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Thank you for taking a moment to recognize the correctional deputies that graduated our academy just over 11 weeks, and they put a lot of hard work, blood, tears into that, and they serve our community proudly. Thank you.
very good.
Morning, Commissioners. Major Tim Friedman with Calvert County Detention Center. Just want to announce the new graduates. It was an 11-week course. They graduated in July. And interesting fact is they're all Calvert County Public School, high school graduates here within the Calvert. I think we have 2 from Northern, 1 from Huntingtown, and 1 from Patuxent. So all born and
Very
raised
good.
here, so, which is
Excellent.
great.
Good.
So we have Hannah Pruitt. Come on up. Damone Plummer, Nicholas Saunders, and Jermaine Hawkins.
Hi, my name is Hannah. I graduated the academy in July of 2025. I graduated second in my class with academic honors.
Congratulations. Good job.
Come right up.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Nicholas Saunders. I graduated at the same time as her, obviously. It's nice to meet you all today. As he went over, I grew up locally in the county, Prince Frederick. I volunteered for fire and rescue for about 2 years. Other than that, that's mostly everything about me. So
Congratulations.
proud to be working here.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Good morning. My name is Jermaine Hawkins. I didn't do as much as them, but I am I graduated culinary school and I am a chef license. So somehow I'm here now, though. So,
So we got a chef on the staff.
There you go. That's right.
How you doing? I'm Damone Plummer. Graduated from Patuxent High School. Graduated second academically in the academy as well. Moved out here in 2021. And really appreciate the opportunity that this department has given me, that this county has given me.
Welcome.
Congratulations. Welcome.
Perfect.
Nice big smile.
Congratulations. 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 Thank you.
Thank you all. We're proud of you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Absolutely,
sir.
thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you all. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Have a great day.
Next item on the agenda is proclamations. The first proclamation is for Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Commissioner Hart,
Yes, sir, Mr. President.
Director Piera, Stephen, Kat.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
If you want to get started and
I would love
tell us who
to.
all's with you.
I appreciate being able to come up here every year and talk a little bit about cybersecurity, which is once a year for a month, but it's 24/7 for myself and most of the department as well. It really is a team sport, but I have some great leaders and great staff that take cybersecurity seriously all year round. And that makes all the difference in the world, because collaboration is what keeps our data and the citizens' data safe. And I also wanted to announce that we will be announcing the winner of the Fishmaster contest later on this month. Wow, did we have some good submissions this year. Even ChatGPT participated. So we had more people clicking on submissions this time, which sounds bad, but it's really, if you think about it, it's not. The users are learning what needs to be in an email to make someone click on it. And I can't tell you how amazing these emails have been. So we're getting there.
Well, good. Come on up.
Okay.
So the impact of cybersecurity is something that's growing and being more and more visual everywhere. We've heard recently about airports shutting down. Anne Arundel, the county, shut down for a while as well as a result of a cybersecurity attack. There was recently a really interesting case in my hometown in England where Jaguar Land Rovers are made, and a ransomware attack shut down the factory for over a month. Not a car was made. The cost of that was somewhere in the region of $100 million per week. The British government had to bail them out with a £1.5 billion loan guarantee. But Jaguar Land Rover is owned by an Indian oil consortium, so they can afford it. But the impact to the community was absolutely massive. So if you think about it, if Jaguar Land Rover, they got ransomware, and as a result of that, all of their suppliers, everybody does just-in-time manufacturing, and the amount of them that were going bust and bailed out as a result of a ransomware attack on one entity was massive. And for my town, 10% of people are employed by Jaguar Land Rover, either directly or indirectly. So the effect of these things is absolutely massive. So what I'd like to encourage everyone, it's the same thing I say every year, is have a long password, make it a passphrase, because you're not trying to beat people with your password, you're trying to beat computers. So pick 3 or 4 random words and just club them together. It could be something like microphone, chair, suit. Those words together, use capitals to capitalize them. That's a really strong password, and it's quite easy to remember. The other thing is, make sure you turn on multi-factor authentication. When you are sharing your details with anyone online and it says, hey, do you want multi-factor authentication? So we'll send you a text. Yes, it's annoying. I know that. But it's worth it. It's so much better than having your identity stolen. If your identity is stolen, it can take months, if not years, to reclaim it. And the financial hardship you will face will be massive. Keep devices updated. When you see those little pop-ups saying update your device, the update is probably a cybersecurity patch. Hit update. Again, it's irritating, but the cost of not doing it is so much greater. Always think before you click, like Kat said with the phishing email campaigns. Just think about it. Did you expect this email? Does it seem too good to be true? Is there a real sense of urgency? And if it's not checking all those items, maybe it's not real. You know, is it really worth it to you? You can always hover over that link and look at the direction, see where it takes you. If you don't trust it, don't use it. The final thing I'd like to encourage people to do is have a family password. So as we see AI, it's incredibly easy to replicate people now. I can replicate somebody's voice in about 5-6 seconds. And once you've got that voice, and if you think someone like me and the commissioners, we speak a lot, our voices are out there. It's very easy to replicate our voices and then call our family and say, hey, this is Stephen, I'm being held hostage, they're going to cut my fingers off, or whatever it is. And my wife may well pay out. And there's no way that she could discern that. I mean, question, do you have time to think of different answers? That's why it's so important to have a family password and share it with your loved ones. And it could be something simple. It doesn't need to be complicated. But we are getting better. So at the county, we're rolling out a brand new AI system, which we're really excited about. We're using AI to fight AI. So the future is not all doom and gloom. But cybersecurity is so important. I'm so glad that we have a month devoted to it. So thank you.
Well, I'm going to try it. Stephen, come on down here. Did I get close? This is Stephen, and I'm about to chop his fingers off a bit here, and just so he can't type as quickly as he used to. Is that good? Was that close? So, you know, there's a long tradition in Calvert County that for proclamations, okay, you choose the person that identifies with the subject as close as possible. Every year I get cybersecurity. Every year. I mean, and it's a no-brainer. I mean, it's a slam dunk. I mean, and Stephen's right with passwords. I've been using 1 through 6 for about, 40, 50 years. No problem, you know. It's easy to remember, you know. It's first one's on the dial there, so, you know, I'm locked in there, yeah. So, yeah. And dial-up's working just fine these days. It's right on time. So, all right, see what you get, see. All righty. Well, whereas in 2004, the President of the United States and Congress first designated October as Cybersecurity Awareness Month to help individuals protect themselves online amid growing threats to technology systems and confidential data. And whereas the Calvert County recognized the vital role cybersecurity plays in safety, prosperity, and well-being of the community, critical infrastructure, personal information, government operations depend on the security and reliability of our digital ecosystem. And whereas cybersecurity is a shared responsibility that requires the vigilance of government, business, and citizens, and whereas the theme for National Cybersecurity Awareness Month is Building a Cyber Strong America, highlighting our collective duty to protect the digital environment. The theme highlights that individuals and organizations can make a significant impact by adopting fundamental cybersecurity behaviors, and whereas the following basic cybersecurity practices can reduce risks and strengthen our digital resilience. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Board of County Commissioners of Calvert County, Maryland designates October 2025 as Cybersecurity Awareness Month in Calvert County. We encourage all residents, businesses, organizations to implement strong password practices, use password managers, enable multi-factor authentication on capable accounts, remain vigilant against phishing attempts, report suspicious activities, keep software and systems updated with the latest security patches. By adopting these practices, we can create a safer digital environment for everyone. Given under our hands and seal this 7th day of October 25, signed by all 5 commissioners.
We will skate right in the middle. We'll go right to the middle.
Yeah, so you can just scoot over to your left there. There you go. Keep going, keep going. All right, perfect. All right, guys. Nice big smiles. And 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Congratulations.
Get close, man. See, they don't see we had that worked out or something, right? You knew I did it, you know, it's like 2 words and lots of pictures.
The next proclamation is for Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Commissioner Grasso.
Catherine Marsh, can you come up, and anybody else that is with you?
You always have this so high. Not for short people.
Okay, y'all want to introduce yourself and say a little something?
Thank you.
Okay.
My name is Catherine Marsh. I'm here with our current chair, Brandy Curtis Richardson, on behalf of the Calvert County Commission for Women. And then after I speak briefly, I'll turn it off to the experts here. We have Peg Haskell, who is running the Calvert Safe Housing Network, our esteemed state's attorney, Robert Harvey. And Mr. Harvey, will you introduce all of your people one at the time? Okay. I figured I'd let him introduce his whole team back there. We have Jeff Gray, who is here for the Maryland Crime Victims Resource Center. And I believe he's right here. All right. If I can just briefly give a couple of statistics about domestic violence, and then I'll turn it over to everyone. In this country, 24 people every minute are victims of domestic violence. It's approximately 12 million people a year in this country. We hear a lot of conversations about, a disagreement between a husband and a wife, or that domestic violence is just men on women. The statistics actually show that it's 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men are victims of domestic violence within our country. 8 million lost days of work impact businesses every year from domestic violence. 44% of workers have indicated that they have been victims of domestic violence. 1 in 4 children witness domestic violence in their home. And our current stats have us at 1 in 10 high school students have experienced violence from a dating partner. And when we look at how this can impact the community, it's not just the impact that it has on our friends, our neighbors, our businesses. We look at our safety as well. 68% of mass shooters in this country from 2014 till today have a history of domestic violence. And so it's very important that we all understand the risks and take it as seriously as I know our professionals in Calvert County do. The number one thing that we can do is to educate and provide support. On October 19th, the Commission for Women, with all of our partners, Unstoppable You, Community Life Center of Southern Calvert County, Calvert Health, the Calvert County State's Attorney's Office, the Maryland State Police, and Calvert Safe Housing Network will be having an awareness and education discussion panel at Middleham St. Peter's. This is an opportunity for everyone to come learn about the amazing resources we have available in Calvert County, and also learn about what you can do if somebody in your life is impacted by domestic violence. Thank you.
Come on up, Catherine.
Hi, good morning. My name is Peg Haskell. I'm honored to be here today and to speak with all of you. I'm the executive director of the Calvert Safe Housing Network. We are a new nonprofit here in Calvert County. We were founded in February of this year. And yet, in the very short time that we've been functioning to provide housing and services to victims of domestic violence and sexual assault here in Calvert County, we have discovered a huge need. So we've been working in partnership with Safe Harbor Shelter to make sure that there is sufficient housing, emergency housing, and housing options for survivors and their families. And yet, in the short time, the 6 months that we have been working with survivors, we have housed 26 individual unique survivors and their 17 children. We have provided almost 1,000 safe nights in safe housing for survivors. So we have learned that there is a tremendous need here in the county for additional resources and housing for survivors, and we're working as fast as we can to help them escape from the violent situations. To Kat's point, we have served primarily women, but we have also served some male survivors. So we know that that happens here in the county as well. We have been really gratified to partner with so many community organizations and county agencies to help us do this hard work, and we're going to continue to work as much and hard as fast as we can. But thank you so much for your time.
Please come up. Jeff, you want to introduce yourself?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jeff Gray. I'm the cold case homicide investigator for the Maryland Crime Victim Resource Center, the original Stephanie Roper Foundation. And as most of you know, Mrs. Roper is still with us. At 88 years of age, she is still on our board of directors, and she still oversees our homicide family member support group. I wear several hats like most of you do. I'm also with the Maryland National Capital Park Police, where I created a victim witness unit. I am a Maryland Certified Victim Specialist through the University of Baltimore, two-time retired from the Prince George's County Police, the Prince George's County State's Attorney's Office. So I'm really honored to be a part of this organization. And I did bring, I hope I'm not being presumptuous, a couple little bags, and they have a purple light in it. As you know, Domestic Violence Awareness Month is October. I'm working with 4 of the 23 sheriff's departments here in Maryland where we honor or recognize or educate the community about domestic violence. Melvin High, God rest his soul, from Prince George's County, started it 12 years ago. John Carr, the current sheriff in Prince George's County, has taken it further. And we hope sooner to get Calvert involved with it. We want, within a year or two, every sheriff's office in Maryland to be a part. So in the bag will be the purple light. I also have some information for you all about the Maryland Crime Victim Resource Center. We help any type of crime victim with any type of crime in the state of Maryland. So always available. Then there's also information, the victim witness pamphlets, which under the Maryland Constitution is mandatory that law enforcement officers give that to every victim and witness when they respond to a call. Also, I've included child and senior fingerprint identification kits. It's a self-contained kit with an inkless pad. The parent or guardian prints the loved one, the child or elderly person. You put the demographic or logistic information on it, include a photograph. There's a corner to put in their mouth for DNA. It's all self-explanatory with information. They fold it up and put it away, and hopefully they will never need it. It's not for when Bobby wanders off. It's when we in homicide find the body. And I'm really proud to say in 3 years, over 200,000 fingerprint kits have been distributed through the state of Maryland with help from Bob Harvey and his office, and Dave McDowell, and emergency services and the fire departments and several churches here in Calvert. So the bottom line is, if we can ever be of assistance with anything, please don't hesitate to ask. I also included a card about our organization. And thank you for having us today. I'll give those to you shortly.
Come on up, Jeff.
Good morning, Bob Harvey, State's Attorney. I'm pleased to say I'm still with you, too. As you well know, the State's Attorney's Office has a unit specifically responsible for prosecuting and investigating domestic violence cases. I have with me today the members of that unit. It consists of 2 attorneys, 2 victim advocates, and an investigator that pretty much devote their entire time to these cases. As you also well know, these are very, very difficult cases, very difficult and emotional cases for people to handle. Last year, 283 domestic violence cases were handled by this unit. That makes it the second most prevalent type of crime we have in Calvert County, behind impaired and drunk driving. So 283 cases, and these are the people that did them. I'm very proud of the work they do. I'd ask them to come up and introduce themselves, please.
Hello, I'm Anthony Navellini. I do the felony cases and then most of the half of the district court cases also.
Brian Jones, I'm the other assistant in the DV unit. I handle the other half of the district court cases and some felonies.
You can stand here.
I'm Tammy Terrell, and I'm a victim witness advocate, and I handle all the district court cases.
My name is Allison Baker. I'm a victim advocate with the State's Attorney's Office, and I handle the circuit court cases, and I'm also a survivor.
I'm Homer Rich. I'm the investigator.
Sir, how many years of experience do you have?
He worked with me 5.
Good morning, Brandy Curtis Richards. I'm the new chair for the Calvert County Commission for Women and survivor.
Good morning, Jennifer Moreland, Director of Community Resource and Liaison to Commission for Women. And our office shares resources and tries to identify gaps in addressing this very important need. Thank you.
Well, I want to thank all of you for all that you do. I want the public to know, don't think it can't happen in your family, because domestic abuse knows no socioeconomic boundaries. Your abuser doesn't start from day one. You fall in love with them, you become dependent on them, you think you're a unit, and the next thing you know, someone who's supposed to love you is abusing you, and you feel there's no way out. We had this in our family with a cousin. I was absolutely shocked. My aunt and uncle were a very loving couple, but my cousin said it didn't start the first day, and then he had me. Also, I want the public to know it trickles down. Your children become impacted. People on the outside notice what's going on, notice a child in need, and they're kind to them, and they play on the weaknesses that are within the home. So what you all are doing is so invaluable, and I know we know, as Catherine Marsh said, the statistics, but those statistics have risen since the last year you all were here. So you all are a very valuable part of our community, and I was very pleased when I was looking over the proclamation, how much we have in Calvert County. It's wonderful. So any of you all out there, please listen to the proclamation. Please take note, and if you need help, get in contact with someone. Thank you all, and I'll read the proclamation. Okay, whereas the Commission for Women partners with the Calvert County Health Department, Calvert Safe Housing Network, Safe Harbor, the Calvert County State's Attorney's Office, Unstoppable You Ministries, the Community Life Center of Southern Calvert, the Southern Maryland Center for Family Advocacy, the Calvert County Sheriff's Office, the Maryland State Police, and the Calvert County Courts to end domestic violence in Calvert County. So you see, there is a list. Call someone. If you need them, they'll be there for you. So we're trying to end domestic violence in Calvert County through education, awareness, community support, and collaboration, while helping survivors of domestic violence realize they are not alone, need not suffer in silence, and can speak out, join together to support each other, heal, and rebuild their families. And whereas the Commission for Women encourages Calvert County residents to light the county purple or tie a purple ribbon around a tree during the month of October to remember victims and honor survivors of domestic violence. And whereas the Commission for Women is organizing a domestic violence panel discussion on October 19, 2025, to raise awareness of survivors' needs and provide education on best practice and local resources. Now, this domestic violence panel on October 19th, where is it going to be held? Pardon me?
Middle Hammond St. Peter's Church in Lesby.
Okay, Middle Hammond St. Peter's Church in Lesby. Okay, thank you. Okay, there you go. Middle Ham and St. Peter's Church on Harry G. Truman Road in Lesby, and it's going to be from 2 to 4 on October 19th. Whereas domestic violence can affect anyone regardless of race, ethnicity, national origin, sexual orientation, economic status, age, religion, or social group. It damages the health, economy, and well-being of the community and harms those we love most. And whereas the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reports that prevention strategies should focus on teaching safe and healthy relationship skills, engaging influential adults and peers, disrupting pathways towards partner violence, creating protective environments, strengthening family economic support, and supporting survivors to increase safety and reduce harm to them. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Calvert County that October 2025 is recognized as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Calvert County. Be it further proclaimed that all citizens are urged to support efforts to end domestic violence and prevent harm to everyone in the community. And this is given under our hands and sealed this 7th day of October 2025, signed by all 5 of your county commissioners.
All right, everybody ready? Okay, and 3, 2, 1. All right, congratulations. Thank you.
Don't leave, don't leave.
At the end of this week.
Thank you.
So that's coming along. Briefly with the Office of Finance, and was at Prince George's for a long time.
Yes, we
Oh, yeah.
Kate,
Yes.
he's got those bags.
And I apologize. May I add one last thing?
Microphone.
I usually don't need it.
I also, ladies and gentlemen, included a safety whistle. It has our logo from the Maryland Crime Victim Resource Center. So I've given you all some extra for your staff. I have several thousand of those. But may I point out, when I hand them out, a whistle will not protect you. You blow it, no one hears it. It's no good. You blow it, they hear it and ignore it. It's no good. But it's a keychain whistle. And you tell your loved one not to be a sexist. It's mainly for women. And I would recommend no one under 13, put it on your keychain. And when you traverse from point A to point B, see that iridescent purple and hopefully remind you, put your cell phone down. Pay attention to your surroundings. You will not protect yourself or stop from ever being a victim, but you will lower the chances. And again, if we in the Crime Victim Resource Center can ever help, please let me know.
Thank you
Thank you,
so
Jeff. We
much.
really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
All right, y'all take care.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
So the next item on the agenda is, we have 2 public hearings today. The first public hearing is Office of the County Administrator, Home Stretch, Difficult to Serve Properties Grant Funds Budget Amendment. Ms. Staples Reed.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Ashley Staples Reed, Special Projects Program Manager. I will go ahead and start off by reading the introduction for the public hearing, and then I'll go right into the memo. So there are 2 public hearings scheduled for today. All hearings were duly advertised, and the certificate of publication is made part of the record of each hearing. Citizens are invited to provide comment on any or all of the hearings after each presentation has concluded. Each of the 2 hearings may have a separate comment period following their brief presentation. Anyone here in person must sign in on the sheet next to the attorney to speak, which is right over here. So I will jump right into the memo. So for background, the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development, through the Office of Statewide Broadband, awarded Calvert County $1.1 million in state funds under their Home Stretch Difficult to Serve Properties program in June of 2024. The award required a $550,000 county match, and a fully executed grant agreement was finalized in November of 2024. Capital Project CIP 00032 Broadband Expansion was amended to include the grant award and county matching funds through the approval and the adoption of Budget Amendment BA 2024-000477. Discussion. Following the execution of the agreement, OSB introduced additional eligibility requirements for the addresses submitted by local jurisdictions. These changes substantially reduced the number of qualifying homes, which in turn decreased the county's allocation of state grant funds from $1.1 million to $47,184.27. Staff have received an amended grant agreement reflecting the reduced funding. A public hearing is required to formally deobligate the state funds and approve the execution of the amendment. Fiscal impact, Budget Amendment 2026-000135 reflects the deobligation of state funds for capital project CIP 00032 broadband expansion in the amount of $1,052,815.73. State grant funds remain in the amount of $47,184.27. Conclusion recommendation. The Office of the County Administrator requests the Board of County Commissioners conduct a public hearing and, if deemed appropriate based on the record, close the record, approve and adopt the proposed resolution and budget amendment to deobligate the state grant funding from the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development Office of State Broadband's Connect Maryland home stretch for difficult to serve properties program and authorize the board president to execute the corresponding grant amendment. All right. Okay, so the floor's been open for public comment on this hearing. Resolution 6-89 was adopted and is available here today to maintain the order and decorum of the governmental process. Those attending in person will be invited to speak first. No one has signed up, so for those who are joining virtually, if you wish to speak, please press *5 or use the raise your hand function. Virtual participants will be identified by their screen name or the last 4 digits of their phone number and unmute one at a time. Speakers will be asked to state their name and address. Speakers who are providing comment as individuals will be allocated 2 minutes, and speakers who are the designated representative of a group will be allocated 5 minutes.
There is nobody at this time.
There's nobody online.
So, Ms. Reed, just a little background on this project. We started how long ago?
Before my time, and I started in 2020. So I believe it was in 2018 is when we first started receiving state grants to start doing the build out. If you recall, the very first phase was the Barstow area. So it's been a long time coming.
And we were pretty much complete for those houses we can connect.
Correct. So this grant is only going to be servicing 22 homes. As far as what the county is still committed to, there's still about 60. They're pocketed areas and they're really restricted by easements. So that's something that we're kind of taking on a week-by-week basis when I have my calls with Comcast to see what we can do to either push it along or send out final notices.
So anyone that wanted to get connected and doesn't have an easement issue has been connected?
Aside from the 22 that are under this grant agreement, yes.
Yes. And so far, we've expended how many dollars in general fund?
Not of our general funds, it's not too much. I'm gonna have to get back to you, and we'd have to refer to my last presentation that I had with you guys.
that.
We've gotten a lot of grant funding along
It's
the way,
all
so
been
we really
grant
haven't
funded.
utilized a lot of general fund dollars, but it's been minimal.
Well, if you remember, we committed to trying to get everybody there before COVID. We tried to be
We were the-
proactive, not knowing that COVID was going to be out there, but because of all the demand, school kids with the setting to have
Correct.
least access,
Yep.
then at least it was great because it was a placeholder. We got first in line because nobody else was committing to do it, and we said, well, if you guys won't do it,
Yeah.
we will,
Yeah.
because we just felt that was important. And then when the COVID monies came, we got there. Any idea how many people did not have the opportunity then, and then how many are now connected?
So it's upwards of in the 700s that we've connected thus far. Again, I'd have to refer back to my last update that I had to you guys last month, but it's somewhere upwards of the 700s.
That was sometimes they say it's better to be lucky than good because we wanted to make sure. Because it's such a rural area at times that they just the cost to go back there's thousands of dollars and
Yeah.
they just couldn't do it. So
Yeah, so
that's
I
very
will
cool.
reiterate, this board was definitely ahead of the curve in regards to that. And, unfortunately, with COVID happening, the good thing was all the funds that were coming down the pipeline, but it did kind of stalemate because everybody was able to get funds.
Yeah,
and
and
then
they tried to
everybody-
leapfrog us, but we were like, hey, wait a minute, yeah.
We'll get there.
And we still are trying to work with the other 47 that did not get connected? Okay.
Yes.
Very good.
I know you've had a lot of obstacles along the way as well, people not granting the use of a
Easement.
Easement, yes, and all of that, but I know you've been working very diligently and you've stayed on top of it. Thank you.
Thank you, yeah. We can't force people to sign easements, we're not in that
Right.
business, but we certainly just want to educate the ramifications of not signing and how it could potentially impact them and their surrounding neighbors.
Thank you.
All right.
Motion?
Yes, sir.
I move that we close the record and adopt and enact a resolution approving budget amendment BA 2026-000135, and that the Board of County Commissioners authorize Commissioner President Hance to execute the corresponding First Amendment on behalf of the board.
Second?
A motion and a second that we close the record and adopt and enact the resolution approving budget amendment BA 2026-000135, and that the Board of County Commissioners authorize the Commissioner President to execute the corresponding First Amendment on behalf of the board. Is there any discussion on that motion?
None.
Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the second public hearing today is Department of Public Safety Budget Amendment for Elevation Project. Dr. Buckmaster?
I was gonna say, is there a doctor in the house?
Director McDowell. Doctor sounds a lot better than director.
Definitely not doctor, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Director McDowell, Director of Public Safety. I'm here with Kara.
Oh, Buckmaster.
Kara
Keep it
Buckmaster.
Doctor to you.
The floor is yours. The floor is yours, Kara.
Background, the Department of Public Safety Emergency Management Division received a Federal Emergency Management Agency hazard mitigation grant to elevate 3 repetitive loss flood properties. FEMA bears 75% of the approved budget, and the remaining 25% is covered by the homeowners. The Maryland Department of Emergency Management is the award recipient, and Calvert County is the subrecipient. As part of the agreement, the county acts as a pass-through for the FEMA funds to elevate the structures. Calvert County must forward fund the federal share of the project and then submit requests for reimbursement as expenses are incurred. Discussion. Due to the rising supply and labor costs since the project was awarded in 2017 at 2903 Beach Drive, the elevation work has exceeded its original budget. FEMA has approved a revised budget for the project, increasing the total from $129,788.25 to $302,101.45. As part of this adjustment, FEMA will contribute an additional $172,313.20, while the homeowner will be responsible for an additional $67,017.66. Fiscal impact. The elevation project at 2903 Beach Drive was assigned CIP 77. FEMA has approved an additional $172,313.20 in federal grant funds to help cover these cost overruns. Budget Amendment 2026-141 reflects this change by increasing CIP 77 by $172,313.20. Conclusion recommendation. The Department of Public Safety Emergency Management Division requests the Board of County Commissioners review and, if agreeable, close the record and approve Budget Amendment BA 2026-141.
So I remember back in 17, do you remember, was there like 7 or 8 of these projects at the time? Do you guys remember?
So the first acquisitions were conducted with the cliff studies back in 2012. And then there were a few more homes that were funded in 2016, 2017. So there was a couple of demolitions and a couple of elevations.
Because I remember when I first found out about it, it was one down in Cove Point. And I remember how tricky this whole thing was because it was federal government in it, state in it. Like you say, we were the pass-through. Then you had the customer, And to try to get all those together, I mean, it's a very, very tricky document. Or is this the final, or is there any more left out there?
So this project is finished, and the elevations that were funded through this grant are finished.
Okay.
Her project, her home is elevated, we're done. This is just to reimburse the homeowner because the costs were triple what they were budgeted
But it
for.
saved that house in Cove Point. It has been gone by now. I mean, it was, and I remember we had never had this before.
Yeah.
But you think that all those projects are complete now?
No, we still have lots of homes through Calvert County that are in the special flood hazard area.
But are they in part of this grant?
It's not this particular grant. Those homes would technically be eligible for grant funding for elevation. However, those funding sources have been largely halted at this point.
I remember
although
that.
The flood mitigation assistance is still available for homes that are susceptible. If they're repetitive loss or severe repetitive loss, they are competitive candidates for grant funding to elevate their homes. But for this project in particular, this is the last property that was being elevated through that project.
Yeah, I knew it's very difficult. It's not an easy document to navigate.
No, it's not an easy program.
Yeah, and so I was just curious, was there still people out there that were kind of waiting to get done, or?
Yeah, we do have newly funded projects. So there is one that was in process in Long Beach. We have one acquisition for a Cliff House that's outstanding right now. But for that one, that was the last of them that we were, oh, and there is one more actually in Bruins Island. That's in progress as well.
And you know, with the erosion problem that we're just steady happening, boy, some tough decisions coming ahead in the future.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Commissioners, I can get you an updated list of everything we have out there.
That'd be great. I was just wondering how those people are doing, because I remember that was a long time ago when it got started, and, you know, it's hard to move. If there's not somebody actively working for you and pushing that paperwork like you're doing, it'll just sit. So,
Yeah,
thank you.
So do you have a waiting list at your office? Or just a list of the projects that's ongoing?
We do keep track of people who have contacted our office and expressed interest in the program, and when funding becomes available, we contact them.
Great.
We tend to have a rotating pool of people. A lot of times, once they realize how difficult and how long the process is going to take, they tend to withdraw. And also, it's not cheap if you look at the numbers here.
Oh, this person put thousands in. I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's only, it's a hand up, right? It's not a
Right.
hand, you know, you have to be, you know, putting your own funding, getting the contractors, and then they got to be compliant with the state and with the federal government to
Yeah.
work within that. I mean, it is a very tricky proposition.
Yeah, absolutely. But we do stay in touch with anyone who reaches out to our office, and even if they aren't eligible for grant funding, or if we don't have any available at that time, we do still try and connect them with other resources that they can use to identify mitigation strategies for their home.
So we've had some significant high tides, and we had a nor'easter coming in this weekend. So, I mean, a lot of these homes, if they hadn't been lifted, were be in jeopardy of not having a home. The beach significantly, it has eroded just south of where these houses were raised. I saw some pictures on Facebook this past week, and I mean, these tides are affecting a lot of those low-lying communities. Breezy Point was flooded significantly, the entire campground was. So, like I said, I think you're gonna have a lot more requests as to, you know, the current weather trends and patterns is what they've been.
Absolutely. Between the erosion, like you said, and the weather patterns, we're going to continue to see this. It's going to continue to get worse. I would like to take a moment to promote the My Coast app. We use it, and we partner with the Department of Public Planning and Zoning, excuse me. It is an app that you can use either on your phone or through just your web browser, and you can use it to report flooding. It doesn't have to be storm-related flooding. It could be tidal flooding. But we track that data. It's publicly available. It's free. It's hosted through the state government for us. And we can use that data for planning purposes So you can take a picture and report it and drop a pin with your location so we can see exactly where it is. We use that for all of our mitigation planning, and the state uses it as well.
So, one more question. Are we keeping track of the shoreline erosion projects that have taken place and to see how much effect they're having on, erosion or gaining beach throughout these storms? So is there something, I mean, like Neal State has a pretty big one, Breezy Points, since those changes were made, what has it done to those areas?
I would have to touch base with soil conservation. We have had conversations, actually, I was just having a conversation with Ryan a couple of weeks ago about reevaluating some of the high priority areas for that. I know they have a much bigger part in those projects than my office does, but it is something we have been discussing and paying attention to.
It'd be interesting to see how much difference it's made.
That is great, because aren't they working on the living shorelines?
That's what.
Yeah, which is really cool. So you know, because we have that problem at Cove Point, and so there was a lot of discussion back and forth, and they were saying, well, you know, it's a waste because the storm can blow it through. But our research, there was a place down in Florida, and you know how bad they get hit all the time, and it has sustained. These things are, I mean, I know it's controversial, but there's a lot of data to say that they work. And because we're gonna face a lot of those challenges, and the state of Maryland, I know, doesn't want to try to put those barriers out there. And if I understand, all they really do is just push the water down to the next person. So
Do they allow, on our shoreline, do they allow those big stones, those big boulders to keep erosion at bay, or they're still not allowing that?
I think it depends on where.
Okay.
I don't want to speak out of turn because that would be something that soil conservation would probably be more informed on.
Okay.
My experience is primarily with the cliff houses, and I know that there are parts where there is some mitigation that's allowed, but there's also other sections where it's not allowed due to primarily Puritan tiger beetle presence. But
And just for clarification, what is the house number at Beach Drive? Is it 2309?
it's 2903. I apologize, I didn't announce that correction.
Not a
But
problem.
it's a typo in the memo. It's 2903. Beach
2903.
Drive.
Okay, great, thank you.
Mr. President, I'd like to get one day a presentation from soil conservation, just an informational thing, nothing that'd be too deep in the woods, just because, as Commissioner Ireland said, you know, on those projects, and it's fascinating. It really is what they're doing, and it's not easy, but I know we'll have to do something.
So there have been a lot of conversations at the state level on living shorelines versus bulkheads versus jetties, old style jetties, and what's what. And the problem being is you might be in the middle and you might have a neighbor on either side of you that has a bulkhead. And then they want you to do a living shoreline rather than join the bulkhead. And it's, like I said, there's a lot of controversy.
That's what that he was telling me. It's it's a lot of nobody's really sure, and you know, and every, like say you want to lock down your piece, but then do you affect next door? And but I think there's monies from Maryland. I don't want to speak out of turn. I think Maryland's big on this living shoreline. I think
Critical Area Commission.
What is it?
Critical Area Commission approves those.
There are some grant funds for especially nature-based projects like that.
Yeah, it would be good to, like Commissioner Hart said, to have a list, because it'd be good to know what our citizens are up against, you know, and what the potential economic impact is going to be, because we are a peninsula.
We have evaluated a lot of that throughout the hazard mitigation plan, the flood mitigation plan, and the high tide flood mitigation plan. We look into a lot of that and try and evaluate that risk and identify those high-risk areas and the economic impact of that. That's a partnership between my office, planning and zoning, soil conservation, and all of, actually almost everybody in the county participates in those in some aspect, because it takes a whole community perspective in order to accurately identify that risk and quantify it. But we do have a lot of that information. I can get with Amalia Pleektam and Ryan St. Laurent, and we can put something together for you guys.
We can
That's
probably get the
great.
Critical Area Commission to send somebody down to talk about it.
I'll get the flood app information out to CMR as well for the public, so
Very
they know it's out there.
Thank you.
Just if I could, I know that the county administrator was at the drill that we had at the emergency management last week, and I just want to say that Kara and Mike Grierson and everybody else there really are an asset to our county, the work that they do, and I'm sure the county administrator will agree with that from what she saw. And we are very blessed to have people like Kara and Mike Grierson and everybody else on that team here working to serve these citizens. Just want to take that opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
all
you.
you're doing.
Do we have any speakers?
There is no speaker, sir.
Mr. President, I have a motion. I move that we close the record and adopt and enact a resolution approving budget amendment BA 2026-000141.
Second.
A motion and a second that we close the record and adopt and enact a resolution approving budget amendment BA 2026-000141. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is appointments. We have several today. Ms. Reeves.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Emily Shreves, Constituent Services Specialist, and today we have several appointments for your consideration. First appointment is for the Calvert County Commission for Women. Staff recommends that you reappoint Diana Wharton and appoint Dr. Shaiwan Makel to the Calvert County Commission for Women. Following this action, 2 vacancies would remain.
Mr. President, I move that we reappoint Diana Wharton and appoint Dr. Shawana Makel to the Calvert County Commission for Women.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. Second is for the Employee Recognition Committee. Staff recommends that you appoint Brianna Kuzic as the Finance and Budget Representative for the Employee Recognition Committee, and following this action, 2 vacancies would remain.
I move that we appoint Brianna Cusick to the Employee Recognition Committee.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries.
Thank you. Third is for the Environmental Commission. Staff recommends that you appoint Dr. Janet Wysocki to the Environmental Commission, and following this action, 2 vacancies would remain.
Mr. President, I move that we appoint Dr. Janet Wasaki to the Environmental Commission.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. Fourth is for the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. Staff recommends that you appoint Trevor Wolinski to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, and following this action, 1 vacancy would remain.
I move that we appoint Trevor Walensky to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. Last one is for the Student Safety and Wellbeing Advisory Committee. Staff recommends that you appoint Stacy Taman as the Calvert Association of Educational Support Staff representative to the Student Safety and Wellbeing Advisory Committee. Following this action, 2 vacancies would remain.
Mr. President, I move that we appoint Stacy Taman to the Student Safety and Wellbeing Advisory Committee.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Ms.
And
Emily.
I do want to take just a brief second to say that there is a new refreshed look for our vacancies list on the Calvert County government website. You go to the calvertcountymd.gov website, go on that government tab and click volunteer boards and commissions. There's a refreshed list of vacancies between now and the end of the calendar year. So if any interested citizens would like to apply, you can apply right through that webpage.
And we have lots of openings.
Yes, and it will show you how many openings there are and for what boards.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the next item on the agenda is a presentation by the Department of Public Safety, Nova Healthcare Services Memorandum of Agreement. Chief Miller. Morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ken Miller, Division Chief Career EMS, Calvert County Government.
Jason Finkelstein, EMS Medical Director.
Dave McDowell, Director of Public Safety.
Commissioners, thank you for your time this morning. We do have a memo we'd like to read to you to give you a little bit of background on the issue. In July of 2022, the Maryland Institute for Emergency Medical Service System, known as MIMS, published an optional medical protocol for advanced level service providers to provide whole blood to critical patients. This protocol must be approved and directed under the jurisdictional medical director. Discussion. Calvert County Advanced Life Support Division of Career EMS and the jurisdictional medical director, Dr. Jason Finkelstein, the county's medical director, has said it has collaborated on a protocol to administer whole blood products to patients in Calvert County. Using best practices from other Maryland jurisdictions, Calvert County's protocol has been approved by the Maryland Institute for Emergency Medical Service Systems for implementation. The purpose of this initiative is largely due to Calvert County's rural setting. Often this leads to extended transport times for critical patients, allowing paramedic supervisors the ability to carry whole blood ensures patients with life-threatening bleeding can receive blood transfusions sooner, greatly increasing chances of survival before reaching a trauma center. Dr. Finkelstein has coordinated with Inova Health Care Services to develop a memorandum of agreement to establish a source for Calvert County paramedic supervisors to have access to whole blood products. The agreement requires biannual mobile blood drives hosted and funded by Inova to occur in partnership with Calvert County in an effort to sustain donations for the program. The fiscal impact. Currently, there's no fiscal impact associated with this program as all costs have been funded by Calvert Advanced Life Support under Chief Shannon's direction, which is funded by the Calvert County Board of Commissioners operationally. We would intend that afterwards we would look at this as a pilot and possibility there could be funding needs in the future. Conclusion and recommendations. Staff requests the Board County Commissioners review and, if deemed appropriate, approve the memorandum of agreement with Inova Healthcare Services. In coordination of this memo is the Department of Public Safety, Jurisdictional Medical Director Dr. Jason Finkelstein, Calvert Advanced Life Support, Christopher Shannon, and myself. And I do believe we have a presentation that we'd like to put out with you. Thank you so very much. All right, so the Department of Public Safety Emergency Services Whole Blood Program, give you a little bit of a background. Emergency Medical Services, EMS jurisdictions in Maryland may apply to the Maryland Institute for Emergency Medical Service Systems, MIMS, which is our governing body for the approval to participate in this optional protocol. In July of 2022, MIMS introduced a low-titer O-positive whole blood pilot protocol to assist patients experiencing major blood loss with significant psychological compromise. Its purpose, so severe bleeding is the leading cause of preventable death in pre-hospital settings. It's been proven by history, data, and I have some statistics that I can give you here in a minute, but early intervention is critical when severe blood loss is present. Field transfusions within 35 minutes improve survivability by up to 60%. Proven data from the American Surgeons Association. It addresses treatment delays due to rural transports to trauma centers. So just to give a little bit of a background, when we look at a trauma center, our closest trauma center is Maryland, Cap Region, which is approximately 35 miles by ground away, and our next closest would be Baltimore, Shock Trauma, Johns Hopkins, and all those are in excess of 60 miles away from us. So what types of blood is administered? Again, this is data that's been proven. So low titer O positive whole blood contains red blood cells, plasma, and platelets. Give you a little bit of idea about that. Why is that important? Right now, currently, the only tool we have to keep blood pressure up and keep someone sustainable is what we call lactated ringers. It's a crystalloid solution. It does not transport oxygen, it does not have plasma, and it does not have red blood cells. So basically what we do to someone that's hemorrhaging is we take what little bit of blood they may have and we thin it out even more. So the only thing we're able to do is increase pressures. We're not increase sustainability of life. By carrying the low titer, O positive, whole blood, it contains those red blood cells, plasmas, and platelets. Federal Drug Administration has approved the emergency use in life-threatening situation where blood is needed immediately and patient's blood type is unknown.
So, Kenny, on that, and you answered that question that can go to anybody, is there any lingering? I mean, obviously, hey, if it keeps you alive, you know, but are
So-
there any effects?
So absolutely, and I'm gonna let Doc talk about that because he is the subject matter expert, even though he's trained us.
So you do have 4 different blood groups, right? So you have A, AB, and then O. So typically in the hospital, when you have enough time and a patient's relatively stable, they can type and screen all these patients. It takes 30 minutes up to an hour to get the full antigen antibody correct. What the military has done, which has then led to the civilian side to do it, is they've developed a process where through centrifuge, filtration, and basically pheresis, where they're able to extract pretty much every antigen and antibody, where now you're left with O positive, low titer. Low titer is that antibody antigen factor. So the studies have suggested that the reaction risk is extremely low, while not completely gone. In the setting of the patients that are going to be receiving this, the alternative is going to be death.
So this is like a car accident. I mean, we're in bad shape here. Something.
It's
along
truly what we call hemorrhagic shock. So hemorrhagic shock means they're hemorrhaging and they're in shock. All their systems are shutting down. This is not for the patient that's slightly anemic, that we're not giving blood transfusions to those patients. It's people that are entrapped in cars that are going to probably be in that car for 30 minutes until the support can get them out. Patients that are unfortunately gunshot victims, stabbing victims, things of that nature that if they don't receive blood in the next 10 minutes, they are going to expire.
So this is great technology, I guess you would say, available to us.
So it's cutting edge of EMS. If you really want to be ahead of the ball in the EMS world, New Orleans has implemented this, and they have a lot of literature and data to suggest.
And the military, you say, is using.
The military does this. They've done it in Afghanistan and Iraq, and currently.
They know.
Yeah, no, there's plenty of literature out. There are certain counties in Maryland that have implemented it with significant success. MSP does carry it, but they're not always available, and their time factor to get to where we need it is not always a reliable source.
How fast can you get it if you need it for?
It depends on the county, but the current recommendation is that the EMS 20, our supervisor, is going to be having it, and any type of call type, they're going to be listening out to it, and they're going to be heading that way as
Is
part
there
of
a
the call.
storage problem?
A storage problem in
Like-
regards to
Like with the product itself, I mean, to keep it.
no. So we have the proper refrigerator, freezer essentially, and that keeps a 24/7 monitoring of it.
For how long?
So typically we're going to be carrying that blood for 2 weeks. So there's a courier that's going to be coming from Inova every 2 weeks. They're going to bring us 2 units of blood. We're going to hand them back 2 units of blood. The blood never expires, right? Blood is good for about 35 days. The reason why we're giving it back every 2 weeks, and this is what Howard County, Frederick, Montgomery, and Carroll does, is that after 2 weeks, they kind of want to get it used, and it's more likely to possibly be used in the hospital setting at a higher level of trauma 1 facility. So after 2 weeks, the blood is still good, but we give them back that blood, and they give us fresh new blood for 2 weeks. So there's no expiration, there's no wasting of any blood.
How long does that process take for once a victim needs it? I'm just reading the MOU here, and it says, the warm-up temperature is 15 minutes once it comes out of the.
So you can give it cold. You can give cold blood. Ideally, you'd like to warm it up, but the literature suggests that cold blood, and actually New Orleans has, which is a very unfortunately big trauma region, they actually only do cold blood.
Okay.
So there's a very low risk factor to. It's ideally you'd like to warm it, but I'd say within 5 minutes, blood could be being transfused, even less with the experience that we'll have with the MS-20s.
So, and just to piggyback on that, Commissioner, in reference to what type of devices we're using to store and deliver, CALS has actually funded this initial purchase of this equipment. We have some of the best equipment, so not only does it keep it in adequate temperature, it keeps it more so in an ambient temperature than us keeping it frozen. So that's called a Delta system, and that was Howard County's way of going with it. We would let them kind of take all these things, run through them, and get that 2-year background of what worked and what didn't work, and that put us where we are today with what systems we went with. So between the Delta cooler system, the actual freezer system that's going to be at the station, so when we rotate this stuff out when it comes time for the courier service, there's been a lot of work that I would have to say the career EMS volunteer service with CALS, Chief Shannon, and Dr. Finkelstein have went through to make sure we hit every mark that the other jurisdictions have done, that we're not going to miss a mark on letting a blood go bad with this.
So I've did my fellowship and training prior to being a physician, my fellowship at Hopkins in Howard County. So very closely tied with Howard County, and they have run a really excellent program. So there's no reason to reinvent the wheel if it's working. And from their literature, it's saved lives.
And the blood drives that we have to do twice a year.
Correct.
are we only asking for type O blood, or are we
No,
taking
so-
all blood? And where does the extra blood go in?
So any blood, they're happy to get any blood. So 37% of the patients, 37% of the population is O positive. O negative is in theory your universal donor, but only about 5 to 7% of people in the world are O negative. So they've created this whole process where O positive is now safe to deliver. They're happy to receive any blood, but they're going to be using the O positive, and considering that it's a third of what the blood they'll get is the blood that they'll be using for the whole blood process, the other blood they'll be using for their own endeavors. But the blood that we are donating is actually the blood that will be coming back to potentially also be the one saving our fellow citizens here.
And the training process, how long a training process is this?
So for the EMS 20 supervisors,
Yes.
it's about a 6-hour course, and then we did about a 6 to 8 hour in-person course as well. So there's an online module to go through I guess the medical nuances of blood and basically kind of a very abridged version of what you guys received here today. And then there's a hands-on course as far as the blood warmers, how to utilize the coolers and everything of that nature. Proper patient notification, proper patient identification, and so on and so forth. So I'd say anywhere between 15 hours for each person that's going to be delivering blood.
Very good, thank you.
All right, continuing on, and then again, we might actually be able to speed through a little bit because we've answered a lot of questions. So, original startup investment. So, I would like to give a little background on this. So, the money that was spent, Chief Shannon said that this was funding that he had found left over. What he did is he purchased these Delta coolers, the light flow systems, and the junctional tourniquets. They all coincide with one another. That was the initial funding that he utilized. Operational costs annually, and this is basically if we were to go through 10 units of blood as well as biweekly or courier services for the entire year, is we're looking at a sustainability monies of about $11,180 a year. CALS has covered the fiscal responsibility for 2027 and advises they can handle 2028. What we'd like to do is run more or less a pilot program for those 2 years, collect as much data as we can get of when it was used, how many times we've had to administer it, come close to administer it. And then from that point moving forward, we would possibly come back to the commissioners and ask for the fiscal transition to come over to the career EMS after 2029 to be able to keep this moving forward every year with carrying this program. So Commissioner Cox, you asked about the service agreement, so I would like to touch base. So basically, Inova Healthcare Services provides the whole blood supplies to participate in jurisdiction did this optional protocol throughout the entire state. Calvert would secure the products from Inova. They would be delivered on a courier service. They're ready to use for any potential patients. Calvert would ensure the proper handling. So again, the amount of time, training, and equipment that we have to make sure that we don't lose any blood. All the blood is able to be given back before it's expired and in adequate time to be able to be utilized, as well as redundant safety systems. So these cooler systems, we're telling you, they have an extremely large amount of technology. So basically, there's almost 11 people that will be alerted if there is a 0.5 degrees Celsius change. It would go directly to our cell phones. And we have about 7, 9, 11 people that we're looking at that would be readily available to come in to figure out, not to include the on-duty supervisor.
There's about a 6 degrees Celsius range of where the blood can stay with.
In collaboration with Inova and to ensure access to vital products, one of the agreements for the MOU was that Calvert would hold a biannual blood drive. And I'd like to stop there for a second and fill you in on something. I was able, after discussing with the director, to sit and meet with Sheriff Cox and the Assistant Sheriff, Mr. Payne. One of the things that we would like to do, and Director, do you want to speak on this, or?
Well, I mean, this is a group effort up here, but we all recall the 2023 incident where Deputy Sheriff James Flint was shot in the line of duty. It was one of the first of its kind here in Calvert County, and it really shook this whole community. Had it not been for blood transfusions, he would not be here with us today. So, in honor of that, I guess we could say we would like to affix James Flint's name to whatever we want to call this program. And I'll leave that up.
Absolutely.
I'll leave that up to the board, but we know James is worthy of it, and we certainly know that any one of our citizens is worthy of this service. So I would appreciate your consideration on that piece of it as you continue to listen to the presentation here.
And again, I have spoke with the sheriff and his assistant, and they both agreed as of 8 a.m. this morning that they were fully supportive, and that Deputy Flynn is made aware of this. So we definitely would like to push the blood drive after his name. We do believe that with the assistance of the sheriff's department, they've agreed that they would stand behind us and support the blood drive, both advertising it out to the public, pushing the venue for the deputies, so forth and so on. So Doc mentioned, and I think it's more important that you hear this again, the blood that's donated from the citizens of Calvert County is the exact blood that's going to come back to Calvert County. So I think that is imperative, that the citizens know what they're giving, what the donors are giving is going to come back to them. And I think that's, that's what really makes a difference. So at this time, the department request is the Department of Public Safety, Career EMS, and our volunteer partners of CALS, Calvert Advanced Life Support, are seeking the approval from the Board of County Commissioners to enter into agreement with Inova Healthcare Services. That agreement has been given to you guys, I do believe, and ladies, to look over. And if you have any additional questions, I have a lot of facts here that I could help with anything that's needed to be answered.
Yeah, I just have one question. If you blow through, say you had a case and you blew through both of those units of blood, what's in place to get blood and how long would that take?
Sure. So at any moment in time, Inova does run a 24/7 operation. At any call, they can require 2 more units of blood. A new courier will come bring 2 more units of blood.
Like immediately within a time frame?
So if we call them, they'll probably have us blood within the next 2 to 3 hours.
Okay.
It's about an hour, 45 minutes, an hour ride from Northern Virginia to here.
Right.
They are a 24/7 operation. It's a hospital system. So within 2 to 3 hours, they can bring us blood.
Okay.
There's a slight, tiny fee if it's midnight. So I think it's a $10 cost additional for a midnight fee versus a 9 to 5 fee. But it is what it is.
Is that included in the?
I mean, the numbers that we gave you, we went over. So I'm assuming that in the reality of the situation, I think it'll be well within reason.
The idea when we gave the numbers was we took the annual cost bi-weekly, and we added a little bit overage to cover for those emergency circumstances, Commissioner, that you just brought up. What happens if? What we did do is we did a financial analysis. The needs analysis of would it be cheaper for us to do our own blood exchange every 2 weeks versus have the courier service. And the courier service was much cheaper than it was to pay someone overtime to drive to Fairfax and come back with the turnaround travel time. So we're trying to be good stewards of fiscal budget, so.
Well, I think you guys are here because you have to be. I see those reports you send us with the accidents on Route 4. The things, I'll keep it vague, that happen at home. The unfortunate things, the uptick we've seen in that, and officers there trying to save lives I mean, you need every tool in the toolbox at your disposal, and thank you for everything. And I tell you, the pick of Officer Flint, wow, what a phenomenal officer he is. And with his training and those things is why he's here. I mean, you pray that it would never, ever, ever happen here. Him being shot like that in the line of duty and all these things. I mean, it just seems like the last couple of years we're seeing more and more of these things. And so thank you for being proactive, hunting this out and doing this. I mean, you are gonna save lives. That's something people throw around sometimes. You will save somebody's life with this.
Appreciate that. And just to reiterate, this is the new wave of EMS. I think within the next 5 years, this is going to be broadly over the entire country. There are large jurisdictions, large cities that are doing it. 4 counties in Maryland currently do it. We will be the 5th. There's 3 more counties within the next 3 months that are moving forward towards this as well. Anne Arundel, Hartford, and Washington. So we are, I think recruiting quality medics as well and just being on the edge is also key for this area.
Well, I want to thank you all as well, and for me, it's a no-brainer. We need to keep our people safe, and this is going to do it. And when you put it into perspective of what happened to Officer Flint, my God, what a great guy. Thank God he's still with us today, and this will continue to keep everyone safe. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Motion?
Yes, sir.
I move that the Board of County Commissioners authorize Commissioner President Hance to execute the Inova Healthcare Services Memorandum of Agreement on its behalf.
Second.
I have a motion and a second that the Board of County Commissioners authorize the Commissioner President to execute the Inova Healthcare Services Memorandum of Agreement on its behalf. Is there any discussion on that motion?
None.
Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries.
Thank you all.
And
Commissioners,
Commissioners,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
and Commissioners, again, a back-to-back presentation from the outstanding staff in public safety. Thank you.
Y'all did a good job.
Very good
Thank
job.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So this is gonna start as soon as we get the agreement signed?
So it's signed by them already, so as soon as you guys sign it.
So it'll be done in an hour.
Thank you, sir. And I also, one last thing I think is very important, you don't get to see him that often, but this man is vital to our EMS system. He's young, he's open-minded, he sees the latest and greatest, and he knows where he should be going. So it's imperative that he's here with us, and I appreciate him standing next to us.
Thank you for being here.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thank
We're
you
glad
so
he's
much.
still standing here by you too.
I was going to say no pun intended about standing.
No pun intended, but,
We have a speaker.
Commissioners, I just wanted to say the commitment to the community that this is showing is amazing, and I just want to thank you all for taking the opportunity to listen to us and hear this great program that we have.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Next item on the agenda is Office of County Administrator meeting with Maryland Association of Counties.
Sir, we're gonna have to pause the meeting. They have hit some traffic.
Really?
so
In Brentford, in Gower County?
I hope not. We will find out when
You
they
know,
get
those
here.
lights were synced, weren't
Yeah.
they?
We can,
Didn't they say that last time? Those lights were already synced up. They should be blowing right through.
You heard what I said. We can move forward with public comment.
Good afternoon, good morning still. To maintain quorum, the Board of County Commissioners adheres to established procedural rules first adopted in 1989 that are applied in a viewpoint-neutral way only to genuinely disruptive or threatening behavior. As an invited speaker addressing topics pertaining to county government, please observe the following guidelines. All remarks and conduct must be respectful and refrain from personal attacks, inflammatory language, or disruptive behavior. Prior to commencing your remark, please state your full name for the record. Individuals, speakers are allocated 2 minutes. Designated representatives speaking on behalf of an organization or group are allotted 5 minutes. Individuals seeking to influence governmental decisions are categorized as lobbyists and are required to register with the Ethics Commission prior to their engagement with the board.
Shorter than everybody else. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Joseph Cormier, and I'll be speaking on behalf of myself today. Friends, either you're closing your eyes to a situation you do not wish to acknowledge, or you are unaware of the caliber of disaster indicated by the potential of data centers in this community. No, I'm not saying all data services are bad. In fact, we're using one right now to send this signal around the globe. But an open AI, deep fake, propaganda generating, smut spewing data hog for tech billionaires? Oh no, sir. I call that slop. No, thank you. We got trouble, friends, right here in Calvert County. Trouble with a capital T, and that rhymes with D, and that stands for data center. Now, I know you fine folks behind the dais think it's progress, but I'm here to tell you it's a gluttonous wolf in a server farm's coat. They'll tell you it's clean green jobs, but every bite they store, my friends, sucks power by the megawatt day. Oh, we've got trouble right here in Calvert County. Why, a single data center could drink more water than a dairy herd in July. And where's it all come from? Our wells. Yes, your wells. That's right, and they'll dump that heat right back out into the bay where the oysters grow. You'll have steamed crabs before they even hit your traps, not with Old Bay, from server farm heat maps. Think of the bass, think of the grass, think of the bills you'll pay. These servers will be drinking juice like sweet tea at a picnic, and who's footing the bill? We are. Yes, you are. And while your lights flicker low and your rates climb high, the company's cashing checks and waving goodbye. It starts with water, it starts with power, it starts with gigawatts compounded hour by hour, and it sits on the shore with a tower so tall, a blinking white beacon you could see from the National Mall. Trouble, yes, trouble, I say, friends. And they'll say it's jobs, it's progress, it's growth. But who's going to foot the bill, I ask you? We will. They'll get pilots and 50% cuts in tax while local citizens just pay. That's a fact. Trouble, yes, right here in Calvert County. So friends, I'm telling you plain and clear, keep your eyes open and let's make them hear. For trouble, it starts with a T, and that rhymes with D, and that stands for data center, a civic bet. Join the chorus, sing it loud, make it grand, trouble in Calvert County, right here on our land. So what do we say to data centers? No thank you. Thank you so much.
Anyone else?
Commissioners, we have nobody online.
Thank you.
That brings us to Commissioner reports. Commissioner Cox.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll keep it short. We won't meet next week. Everybody have a great Columbus Day. And also, be aware it's breast cancer month also. So keep them in your prayers and do something for the breast out there. Thank you.
Commissioner Hart.
Well, it's good timing. We just seen the report from the EMS and mentioning volunteers and all. So they really did something really cool. We have a young resident used to live here. He's now in Florida now, and he truly, truly loves our first responders, EMTs, everything. And every year he would go to their events and he would get a volunteer shirt and a thing. So he couldn't be here. So they mailed him a shirt and sent him this letter they signed, and it meant so much to him. I want to read it to you. It says, "We hope you enjoy our 2025 Volunteer Appreciation Shirt. Next year, we will be celebrating 100 years of volunteer service in Calvert County. Hopefully, you can make it here to help celebrate with us. Wishing you all the best. Calvert County Volunteer Rescue EMS," and it was signed Kathy Gatton, Monty Parks, Jim Richardson, Heather Howes, Crystal Dowd, Erica Mooney, and with Dave McDowell. And if that doesn't tell you how great these folks are, to take the time to do that, they're so busy doing everything else. I'm telling you, he sent me a picture of him with the shirt, and it's just something like that just made his day. He's a very special young man. His name is Christopher Bioblocki. He has been up here a few times and stuff, and he's just a very special young man, and I know he truly appreciates this. And Christopher, thank you for sending me this, and I'm hoping you're having a great day down there in the sun. So, thank you guys.
Thank you. Commissioner Brasso.
On October 1st, I went to Beach Elementary School to attend Homegrown School Lunch Week. And Economic Development did a fabulous job. There were 4 tents set up. The first one, they talked about corn, and the kids were able to shuck an ear of corn. And then they ate it for lunch. So they were really getting down to basics. The next one, 4-H'er had goats, and she talked to the kids pet the goats, and tons of information. The next one was about seeds. Mr. and his wife were at that tent, and they were saying to the kids, what kind of seed do you think this is? And then under a plastic cover, they would reveal what the seed represented. And at one of the sessions, this little boy said, "You really are a farmer." And they just cracked up. Then the fourth one was Susan Cox from Mrs. Moose, and she was very, she got down with the kids and pretended they were a seed, and then she told them how seeds grow with their bodies. They came up. It was so darn good. And the kids had a great time. The kids were very well behaved. The teachers are very engaged. I had the new PT teacher tell me when we were watching Susan's, he said, "Gosh, I'm as engaged as the kids are. This is great." So I hope we do that in all of our elementary schools. That was really worthwhile. And then on the 3rd, this past Friday, I went to North Beach's First Friday, and it's just a great event. It's great for me to meet people, to talk with people. First time I had grandchildren let loose, and they were texting me, "Where are you now? Where are you now?" And we just had a great time, and I was able to speak with a lot of people, and encourage you to go next year. It's a wonderful event every first Friday of the month in North Beach. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Arlen.
So it's Pedestrian Safety Month. We have several Walktober events scheduled to highlight pedestrian safety. Today's walking event is actually going to be at the hospital during the farmers market. There are several noon walks and several 5 p.m. walks. They're scheduled for the 7th, Thursday the 16th, Monday October 20th, and Wednesday October 29th. So we actually have a flyer. If you look on the county website, look for something that looks like this. and it actually gives the details of where they're at. We have Ward Farm Park Playground, Howling Point Pavilion, Solomon's Town Center Park Pavilion, King Memorial Park Pavilion. So pretty much in every section of the county, there's something close by where you could go join and celebrate that. Traveled to Lancaster, went to the Sight and Sound Theater and saw Noah. If you've never been there, it's very, very well put together. Apparently, all of their events are. That was the first one that we had been to. I think they're having Joshua starting next year, but you got to get tickets way in advance. And the whole Lancaster area was absolutely beautiful this time of year. I've seen corn as tall as the ceiling everywhere up there. They must have had the rain at the right time.
Yeah.
And they're constantly spreading cow manure on the fields while they're cutting corn. So I'm quite sure that it's helping their product a lot. But
Did you get a chance to try anything local from up there?
so we went to Shady Maple, which is a huge smorgasbord. They have grocery stores attached to it. They have a goods store. It was a great trip. It really was.
Good.
And then we stopped, shoe fly pie, they have all different flavors of shoe fly pie. Then we stopped on the way home at Haverty Grace because we had to pick some up at the airport late that night. We spent the afternoon at Haverty Grace, the antique shop. And actually their first Friday event in Haverty Grace was Friday evening. And we hung out there for about an hour or so, and they shut down the whole streets. And it was very, very well attended. But I'll tell you, I never would have taken the time to go through those antique shops like we did. And I'll tell you, it makes you learn that all of our toys we played with when we were kids are in the antique shops. It makes
That's
you feel a
'cause you're
little bit old. Yeah, right.
Mike's don't play with
Yeah.
this.
So, but no, it was a good trip. We had a good time.
That's great.
Thank you. So, yeah, the homegrown school lunch program, it is a great program. Anytime you get in front of kids and talk about agriculture, and like you say, they're so excited sometimes when they learn these new things about little teeny seeds and what comes out of them, because they don't always get that in science class at school. So it's a great opportunity. Appreciate economic development putting that program on. First Fridays, I was up there too. The weather was perfect.
Oh, beautiful.
Had a great crowd, and so it's unfortunate it's the last First Friday until next year, and
I know.
we got to figure out a second Friday in Prince Frederick or something. Not the same First Friday, but
There you go.
a second Friday.
There you go.
That pavilion might be a good.
Yeah. So, and blood drive, we get in the new building, maybe that's a place we can have a blood drive one day. Be a great opportunity. And we did start moving into the new building yesterday. So it is finally completed. We're looking forward to having all of our departments all together. Really looking forward to the customer service that'll be there, where you can one-stop shop, get everything you need done in one place. You won't have to travel all around. So we're really looking forward to that. Now I'm going to look at the attorney. So we can go into exec session and come back when our guests show up?
Yes, we can.
Because we
Oh, yes,
have an
you can.
ETA on them, Miss Katie?
They are on their way.
Well, I hear that, but,
No, so yes, I think we'll have to come back.
Okay, ready for your motion?
yes, sir.
I move to recess to executive session pursuant to general provisions, Article Section 3-305B1I, to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom the board has jurisdiction. B3, to consider the acquisition of real property for a public purpose and matters directly related thereto. And B7, to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice.
Second.
So I have a motion, and a second, that we'll move into exec session. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So we'll be back when our guests show up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Coming back, right, he needs a motion, he's coming back in open session.
so we need a motion to reopen session.
Mr. President, I make a motion that we reconvene the Board of County Commissioners open meeting.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to reconvene our meeting. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. So today we have with us, well, never mind, that's your job, sorry.
No
County
worries. Good
Administrator.
afternoon, Commissioners. Linda Turner, County Administrator. Today, we have our MACO Executive Director, Michael Sanderson, and Jack Wilson, who is the current MACO President, here today to present to us their updates on MACO's legislative activities. They come every year. This is their annual report to you. So with that, I'll turn it over.
Good seeing you guys
Welcome.
again. You
Yep.
Still fighting the good fight.
It's good to be seen, right?
Yeah.
So,
I think we take more of the hits these days, seems like, doesn't it, you know?
yeah, well, yeah, Michael's got plenty to say about that, trust me. But yeah, thank you. Sorry for the tardiness. Kind of a little long-winded in Charles and a little traffic on the way over, so.
State assured us that the lights were all synced. They were all, so you should have blown right through. Should have.
You were definitely misinformed, I can tell you that, that's for sure.
Commissioner Hans offered to take them for a ride. I did.
I did.
We could have used that.
MDOT was here last week, so.
So this is stop number 20, golden number 20 today. And we started out right after session. We had about 7 or 8 counties we hit initially, and I'd kind of like to frame what Michael's about to tell you to try to prepare you as best I can. So in those first 7 or 8 visits, Michael really looked at talking about what just happened in session. And we left most counties pretty depressed. So when we resumed back to making visits, we decided we're going to change it all up because it was really not good. We did not get good reviews, but we would have been a 1-star on Yelp for sure. But anyway, so we kind of decided
You're just going to
now.
tell a bunch of lies?
He's not capable of that, you know that, so, yeah. But so we decided that what he'll do is he's going to briefly touch on the previous session and then let you know more about what's coming up, what we have to face in not only next year, the election year, but also the out years from there and how budgetarily that's going to affect us all. And then we're just going to have a good conversation on whatever you guys have and, whatever meat's left on the bone we want to talk about. So, Michael?
Thank you all very much for having us today, and apologize for the bad timing to you and to your viewers, the teeming millions who are watching the commissioners' meeting, being a little out of sync, but
Do
appreciate
you know what this
you.
advertising time costs us to run extra ads waiting for you to get here?
I
mean,
understand, like,
it's like Super Bowl minutes.
Send me the bill, right? Grateful for your time. We've shared a packet of information with you. I don't want to get too deep into that, but instead want to focus on a handful of issues that are still live. Some of these stories start back in last session or even our last visit here a year or so ago, but sort of catch you up on what's cooking right now and what looks like it'll be live for the legislative session coming ahead, because we're starting to focus on next year already. And the fact that this is, for most of the state, an election year plays a real role in the timing of some of the challenges that we're surrounded by, as much as their magnitude. So nuts and bolts, let me talk about budget and fiscal stuff. It's usually the biggest and most obvious connection between state policy and affecting you all. You all probably saw a chunk of your budget dedicated to paying invoices for state services that you hadn't anticipated, and it abridged your ability to make commitments to other things locally. That's the environment we're in. I think I recall being here around a year ago, and in the summertime of last year, the conversation was like, how big is the state's bad news going to be? At what point does it turn into they've really got to make serious budget cuts, raise revenues, or combinations of things like that, as opposed to sort of one-time fixes that you can sort of nip and tuck your way through a minor budget difficulty. And the news got bad enough that by our winter conference, we were looking at about a $3 billion problem for the state. Their general fund budget's 25 or $26 billion. So $3 billion is well past the couch cushions and nip and tuck kind of stuff. It's real things they had to do. So they closed the $3 billion with about halfway with new revenues, with new taxes and fees and other things along those lines, and then made budget cuts and shifts and so forth to manage the back end. Not a whole lot of shut down the program, but a lot of things like we won't put as much money into a reserve fund that we otherwise would have by our own laws or things like that. They nipped local governments for more than $100 million. The order of the day there is the cost shift. To put this in some context, and this is an anecdote, but I think it illustrates fairly well. If the budget leaders felt like, well, we need to get $100 million from the counties, there just aren't that many programs where they can go and make a cut and just say, we'll do without the thing. Like, all the money they give to local health departments is about $100 million. So they could zero that out of their budget and say, we're just not going to support local health departments anymore. Imagine the headline, right? I mean, the things that are left that they directly fund to support services being delivered locally. Imagine the headline, zero for local health on the wake of this terrible pandemic. And, oh, there's no money for preventive care and for vaccinations and worried about communicable disease. That seems like it's A1, Annapolis full of idiots, right? So instead, they find, oh, well, the cost of teacher pensions has escalated more than we had originally forecasted. We need to come up with $200 million extra money. Let's send half of that bill to the counties as an invoice. We'll still give the pensions. The teacher's still going to be made whole, but we'll invoice the counties for some calculated share of those extra costs. Wow. Politically, in Annapolis, that's catnip. Right? I mean,
But you remember the pension shift they did to us years ago.
Yes.
Remember, that was a $5 million, I think, out of the county per year.
Probably, yeah, $5 million for you. Yeah, I mean, it was
about 6 years ago.
all the
it was
OPEB?
longer than that. Yeah, it was 2012.
I'm trying to remember. Well, it started, but it was
Yes.
it was
They
phased
phased it
in.
in. Yep, they phased it in over 4 years, but
it's just the same with like the highway user fees. They took that gas tax and that right around the same time, which hit us for about $10 million a year.
Right. So we know that when the chips are down and things are tough in Annapolis, they look to share the pain across different agencies and different stakeholders. They see local governments as a part of that, right or wrong, and their problem we inherit. It just always happens. There was no way we were getting out of a $3 billion fiscal crisis without without taking on some water. What we took on was this cost shift for pensions. They did more on the local assessment offices than they had before, that it was 50-50. They moved it to 90-10. And they came up with this backwards idea to bill the county if there's a person has been unjustly convicted and then have their sentence overturned. If there's a financial settlement with that person, they're going to send half of the bill back to the county on the grounds that somehow the county commissioners were responsible for the prosecution, which, as you know, an independently elected state's attorney in this state is that you don't hire anyway. Somehow that's lost when we get into the city limits in Annapolis. So.
Are you finding the STATs are so inflated across the state?
Well, with a 90-10 split, there's actually no particular motivation for savvy management on that side. If you're only accountable for 10 cents on the dollar, I mean, I don't think that story's over. Whether it ends up being there's some more local guidance and oversight, or whether we're somehow successful to get them to walk that number back, I don't know how to get there, but I can't imagine that this is where that story ends. We pay 90% forever, and they just keep milling dollars. So we'll see the long-term story there, but the cost shift rather than an actual budget cut is a worrisome trend for us. It's easier to do this paper shuffling thing.
Sure, because they're not the bad guy.
That's right. That's right. So, and it's too difficult to explain. Like if you had folks come to your budget hearings, you can't explain to them that, well, we have this new invoice that comes from the state and we have to pay it or else they'll grab our income taxes. Like no one can process that in the way that they can. Like we have to spend local taxes for this or that. So anyhow, that's the nature of where they are, but they came out of last session with basically a 2-year fiscal plan. with maybe certain timing in mind. So the idea was, back in April, raise revenues, do all these different things. The 2007 budget, or the 2006 budget that we're in, that they cut last year, and the 2007 budget basically look okay. If the feds didn't mess things up too aggressively with their own federal reconciliation, which ended up shifting some costs to the state, it happened a little more slowly, less abruptly than it could have happened. I think they were ready to come back to Annapolis for an emergency session in the fall, like probably right around now, if the federal stuff back in June and July had been really severe and immediate. But instead, it's going to be more gradual, more incremental, and so we'll just feel that later. The current federal shutdown is going to affect Maryland more than most states. Typically, federal employees who go without pay get compensated back at the end of the line. I guess there's no guarantee that whatever resolution we'll see and whenever that happens, that'll happen, but most stakeholders expect that's the case. You still will have contractors and other businesses that are built on and around federal presence who don't get the benefit of back pay and so forth. If your pizza restaurant is empty today because it's right next to a federal facility and no one's there, you don't get to make up that 6 weeks worth of time or whatever. So we'll see how much that affects the economy and our neighborhoods and so forth, but our eyes should be on that too. Anyway, the plan is to get through this coming year without another big round of turbulence. And even with a modest write-down in state revenues just a week or two ago with their own official forecasts, they're not talking, oh, we now have a $700, $1,200 million problem again that would require really tough stuff this year. It should be relatively smooth sailing for the 26th session. Coincidentally, leading right into primaries for an election year, right?
Funny how that works.
Funny how that works. The reason the forecast is only steady for 1 year, and without getting too shaky on this, a big part of the state's forecast goes bad in 2028. The FY28 budget, that's the budget that got a cut in early calendar 27, right after the election. Things are going to go bad. It's not just the economy getting slow or spending going up, but they've got an education trust fund that the voters said needed to be pre-funded with casino money and some other targeted revenue for multiple years before the blueprint existed. So they've been spending money out of a piggy bank to pay for the blueprint, for their share of the big 10-year education plan. So far, they haven't felt it in their general fund because they've had a balance in this education trust fund. The balance gets them through 27, but not through 28. They got to start paying cash for a big chunk of the blueprint program starting in FY28. So anticipate a rough year fiscally in the spring of 27. After the election, new senators, new delegates, potentially a new state administration, new county leaders and so forth in lots of cases. Suddenly the situation looks grim again to the tune of that $3 billion range. So maybe another round of tough decisions and potentially more squeezes on local governments, not this coming year, but the year after.
Do you see do you predict a lot of changeover on the state level on the elected offices? Because for so many years, it was Miller and Bush running the whole show, and it was consistent, whether you liked it, whether you didn't like it. For a budgeting purpose and financial purpose, you pretty much knew where those numbers were going to lie. And now it feels like the Wild Wild West.
So I think that the element of stability of having very long-serving and secure presiding officers is absent. Even with now the current leaders in both chambers have been there for multiple years and so forth, it still doesn't have the same feeling. I would concede that. I think most stakeholders would. I don't think the leadership in the legislature has that much to do with like how serious the numbers get. Maybe in the approach to dealing with them is a function of legislative leadership and maybe what happens in the coming election. So, if there ends up being more, shall I say, like two-party sensitivity than has been the case before, I mean, in all candor, in the General Assembly, the majority party has a strong enough supermajority to override a veto, we saw in the last administration routinely, and has the ability to shut down debate in the Senate in a way like the U.S. Senate can't do that. But in the Maryland Senate, they can get a 3/5 vote with just the majority party to continue, to shut down debate on a touchy topic and that sort of thing. So unless those thresholds change, you probably don't see the winds blowing in a really different direction, would be my.
And from who I talked to, it doesn't sound like there's a threat to that this go around.
I don't think so. We'll see in the race for governor, if former Governor Hogan elects to run, he'd have name recognition and enough momentum, I think, to make the general election contested and interesting, like you'd watch all the way down. I don't know if there's another nominee in the Republican Party who would make that race close, just because of the registration advantage is so wide statewide. So that'd be my best guess. I think all those issues will be on the table as part of the campaign, but I don't think there's any math that suggests the Maryland Senate is going to swing 7 seats the other direction and suddenly become a 55-45 state where it's a two-party back and forth in the way that Ohio or Minnesota or other states like that look. So,
What's your sense on redistricting? Do you think it's going to happen?
the latest fact point we have is last week, the Speaker of the Maryland House said she was in favor of advancing a bill to change the congressional districts. Nominally, I mean, we're caught up in a national partisan battle here. It's Texas and California, and each party's looking around at their various deep blue and deep red states looking for where can you find 1 seat or 2 seats and so forth. And apparently Maryland's on the list as a squeeze one more blue seat. I think the way that would work would be, I think the only way to draw districts that would accomplish that would be to divide the Eastern Shore into 2 districts, take the lower shore, probably not south on the other side of the Bay Bridge, bring it across the bridge to Annapolis, and then find another bundle or 2 of blue votes that you could attach to at College Park or somewhere in northern Anne Arundel County perhaps, or I'm not sure how you draw that. I don't think the vision of having a combined district that's the southern Maryland and the lower Eastern Shore like it was some years ago, I don't think that's on the table. I don't think the math works there. But I think it's at least in play as a topic that may take up a lot of oxygen in this legislative session.
Of course, because of Andy Harris.
Right. And when state district drawing got brought to the U.S. Supreme Court, I don't know how long it's been now, 5 or 6 years ago, and they had an opportunity to weigh in and say, this kind of stuff is unconstitutional. And instead, they basically said, the right way for this to be resolved is the political process. If the state legislature draws districts that are offensive to the people, they'll get voted out and replaced by other people, and that's the way this should work. So Texas draws what they want, and Wisconsin draws what they want, and Maryland draws what they want, and Massachusetts draws what they want. And there's no constitutional protection for, I should be able to vote for someone in my party and the majority around me and so forth. So elections are tricky business. The difference between protected classes and political groups is a subtle one. This is above my pay grade, but I think we're going to see time spent on that topic.
Okay, thank you.
So I mentioned the blueprint as the big education plan. Let me shift to that and just take a minute on that, but the story's pretty much the same. Expect a lot of attention after the election. Main reason for that is in the 10-year plan, the legislation that got everything rolling, they did put in an evaluation to look at how are things going and are we getting the outcomes we wanted from the investments so far. And that evaluation is supposed to happen next calendar year and be delivered late in 2006. So, excuse me, 26. I somehow lost 20 years along the way. Lose some gray hairs and stuff like that. In 26 is when they'll be doing the evaluation and, a third-party contracted firm to do this sort of stuff. And that's supposed to look at what are we getting for our money and are we investing the money in the right places and so forth. So we'll see what that yields, but that's already been used as a sort of, we shouldn't make changes to the plan now. We're just about to have the big audit. So we heard that last session, and I would imagine anyone who comes to town asking for big changes to the blueprint this year are likely going to be told, well, that you're kind of premature. We're going to have the big audit, and we'll have the game plan for what do we need to tweak, and the year to do that is 27, not 26. So that'd be my best guess is whatever ratchet and clanks happen are probably going to happen in '27. I'll mention one thing real quick, though. The Carroll County Schools went to the state, their accountability and implementation board. This is the body they're the, the chapter and verse group, like the true believers in the blueprint, make sure it's happening correctly. The schools in Carroll went to the state and said, we can't do all the things required in the blueprint, even with the money that our commissioners are gonna give us a big increase and so forth, but we would have to move so much money to these schools, away from these schools, we'd end up with half of our county in 40 kids to a class where it used to be 24. And the state granted them a 2-year functional waiver. It wasn't a funding waiver, but it was, you won't have to do for the FY 26 and 27 years, every single thing. Keep making good faith progress in that direction. We want you to get there, but we understand why you can't get there today.
I didn't even know that was an option.
I'm not sure many of us did.
Their issue was not money.
Yeah, it
It
wasn't.
was moving schools around, and we don't have that issue
okay.
here.
Okay.
They had a
We do
big
not have to
spike
do
in
that.
their population of students who are in some of the special categories, where
Yes.
a lot of money in the blueprint is tied to students in separate categories as opposed to rank and file students. And this might be a little bit of a revelation that maybe the Kerwin Commission and the Blueprint Bill may have swung the pendulum, like maybe too much of the money is in special categories as opposed to all kids need these services and so forth. I'm not sure where we'll land there, but that the state accountability board said, you're right, we get where you're coming from, shows more flexibility than I might have been optimistic about a year ago sitting here.
So where are they spending all their money in Blueprint? Because they ain't spending it here. We've had to come up with $20 million for our school system and new money to meet Blueprint. The state's put basically zero in here.
And what about all the counties that are always talked about on Eastern Shore that can't afford any of it? Where does that stand as well?
So I would say the biggest overarching answer to that question of what the heck is going on here traces back to the way the bill was designed. I don't want to get super technical, but like at the cocktail napkin level, when they wrote the bill, and the whole thing is pinned back to a foundation amount per student. And that's going to ramp up over time. We wanted to get by 10 years, we're going to have this full, all the bells, all the whistles and so forth. And then each year you ramp it up. And they could have said, escalate these numbers based on the actual cost of living, but they didn't. They forecasted what inflation would be through the whole 10-year rollout and baked that number in to those dollar amounts. So it's written right in law. For FY 23, it's this amount. For 24, it's that amount. For 25, all the way through FY 30, the dollar amount is written right into law, baked on an assumption we know it's going to happen with inflation. What's actually happened with inflation doesn't match up at all, right? The labor market and materials market, buying microscopes and textbooks, but hiring teachers and bus drivers all got way more expensive in 20 and 21 and 22, way more than that, like 2% a year forecast. So the state says, we're fully funding our formulas, but their formulas are baked on 2018 spending. And they fund everything per student. And when we saw an enrollment drop in 2020, when a lot of folks left public schools, they went to private options, they went to homeschooling and so forth, a lot of those kids didn't come back. So the number of dollars going out the door from the state to a lot of jurisdictions who are flat from where they were in 2019 or 20, or even a little bit behind, is actually hasn't turned out to be much of a bump because they didn't really account for real inflation. And instead of having modest growth in the student population, we've got declines or flat. So there aren't as many students, and we're not really fully funding them the way that would have been more honest. And as a result, the state hasn't really borne a ton of costs the way they expected. They can say they're fully funding their formula, and technically they are, but there's some cracks in the foundation there. What that's meant, though, is the schools really need to pay those bus drivers to hire them, so they need to come to the county commissioners and say, the state says they've done their bit, but we need not just your mandated amount, but we need all this above and beyond just to do blueprint stuff, and then we still don't have enough for band or football or gifted and talented or teacher mentoring or other things that are not blueprint programs.
Well, I thought what was curious was support staff wasn't included. And I hate to play conspiracy theory, okay? But you see what they pay support staff. It's nothing. I mean, for the level of skill involved and what's demanded to meet those things. I mean, and I don't quote me on what that pay rate is, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty close to minimum wage level, and not to be included. And stop me if I'm wrong, because I know this thing has changed like the weather. But from my understanding was that they weren't there, and you hate to play in conspiracy going, but as they're looking at where they're investing their money, by not putting them there, they are the least expensive workforce to work with. And you're wondering, is there going to be a shift to where, okay, well, support staff's going to be asked to do more and more and more because they're a cheaper alternative and not have as many teachers in the classroom.
I don't know about the last facet there. I don't know about the machinations within a school board budget or within school administration, but the issue of certificated teachers as opposed to other professionals, even like speech pathologists and other professionals who are in the learning environment and have their own certificates and credentials, and then the various support staff who do, driving and maintenance and
Well, they have them
and
doing
food
everything
service
these days. I mean, it's crazy the burden that's put out there, and they just, I mean, unless something has changed, if that's still the way going forward, they're not included, correct, in the blueprint?
Right, they don't have the benefit of the teacher mandate, right? Back in 2018, when this was being assembled, the Kerwin Commission basically said, let's put a pin at $60,000 and let's ramp up so that every newly hired teacher can come in at 60. It'll take us a handful of years to get there, but I think it's really by 26. It's supposed to be the first year where that's a true mandate. And they were like that. They wanted that to be a shock and awe kind of number. That in parts of Maryland, new hires coming at 42. We want to get to 60. We want to turn this into a premier profession. We want our best college sophomores to be thinking about teaching the way they think about engineering or going to Wall Street or whatever. And I get that as the vision, right? The arithmetic doesn't sing as much as it did. The spike in the labor market, 60 today doesn't buy you what
does not
60 felt like in 2018, which then begs for, well, to really live up to the dream of the blueprint, you might need to say, well, it's not 60, it's 72. And we need to bring along the paraprofessionals. And we need to have how big does the $4 billion plan eventually get if you want to say, let's do all the things in the spirit that we might have intended? That $4 billion plan can become a $9 billion plan.
And that's where I'm going, because I believe, isn't there a component, and please, if I am wrong here, you had a few years to get to your master's. You had to get your master's, but then that was a mandatory $10,000 bump while your steps, your career ladder or whatever they break are still going on. So theoretically, you could be a new teacher, 6 years roughly on the books, whatever, and you would be around in the 80s or so.
Probably, right?
Which that bang's not the bang for the buck that it used to be, as you said, because especially in this state where things are so inflated. I mean, it is just, go to McDonald's. What's it cost? Because minimum wage is becoming a real challenge in a lot of these businesses, because it may be $15. Good luck getting somebody for $15 at 17, 18. So now these folks that you told over here, their money's not spending as far, but then, so then you look at the gap of teacher to support staff, that's, and I hate trying to play conspiracy theory here, but.
So we raised our teachers to 61 and we gave the support staff a commensurate raise. So we raised everybody.
Right. Because we look at them as we need the whole team.
Right.
We need the drivers, the support staff, the teachers. To me, it's one whole team. But it seems like that wasn't part of Maryland's initiative, unless I'm wrong.
Right. I think one of the things that's playing out in this and was raised during the Kerwin Commission funding part was salary compression as a whole taken into account, whether it's from maintenance another bump. So it's Michael said it before, it's kind of timely that this election year, everything's nice and
Yeah, it's
goes
great.
all great, and then all of a
Well, that's
sudden,
why- that's why
the
I'm
wheels
curious.
fall off and you go over the cliff all at the same time. So it's, but
roll over.
yeah.
And the only way they know to fix it is tax.
No, that ain't, no. They push it onto us and they
Yeah.
tell us.
Well,
to
they
tax.
tell us to tax.
Cost
I mean,
shift, that's the new
all we
tax
know.
it.
You
They
know?
tell us to tax.
You know,
So we
and-
get the hit and they don't.
That's the new Annapolis sexy word, cost shift.
Yeah.
The cost
So is
shift.
there any other cost shits on the table? You know, we didn't talk about Blueprint, we didn't talk about, you know,
The other half of the OPEB.
NDOT. Is there any other big waves? You know, our health department, how much,
That's another one.
our extra funding for the health department this year?
Went up.
Is it 600,000 or something like that?
Yeah.
So is there any other big waves of this cost shits on the table that we need to be prepared for?
I mean, the most obvious piece is what they shifted to counties last year was calculated as half of the cost of pensions exceeding an earlier estimate. Basically, teacher pensions got more expensive. They calculated that out. It's like 197 million. And they said, okay, we can shift half of that to the counties. And then in the midst of their budget debates, they floated, why don't we just shift the whole thing? They didn't do it. But, okay, so that's the obvious piece.
But the seed's been planted.
So whether that's, whether I'm wrong about the coming legislative session, and if they have to do a little bit of work to make this coming year's budget work, is that 100 million that drops? Like, it's sitting right there? Or more likely, in my view, when the 27 session happens and they need to do all the things, like, that's in the first draft. You do that, and they probably catch up on the calculation. Instead of 97, it'll be 125 or whatever.
So that cost us 1.8.
Sounds
The
about
cost
right.
shift.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah,
And our citizens don't understand why we're raising their taxes
Absolutely
and why are we doing this? You know, why are we wasting we're not wasting their money. We've got to cover the state's
Right.
revenues that they're taking away, but
Right.
they don't get that. And the state thinks it's wonderful that we get blamed for what they do.
Right. So, I mean, I hate for it to be placed that bluntly, but it kind of has to be. The last thing I want to do in an open meeting is start telling you, here's an inventory of new things that they could cost shift and bill us for, but I'm sure there's somebody up in Annapolis who's sitting, has
They've already
a
got that
lovely
list.
Excel spreadsheet that's come up with 13 more ideas where we could get them for 8 million here and 12. I mean, you know, this idea of the wrongful convictions, like, it's showing you they're thinking about what things are out there where you could make some vague policy argument that the counties should own part of the
And that's been my argument, you know, instead of wasting all this time on how to just keep taxing your residents where they keep leaving. So they're leaving in groves. I mean, you've seen that. If you're a senior, you leave out of here. If you have any type of pension, you leave out of here. You can still visit your kids and live in Delaware. So they moved to Delaware, you know, and I'm sure you've seen growth there. I've seen watching like a lot of these things where some of those towns they're seeing huge growth and property values and the other because they can't afford to stay here. So instead of Maryland investing back into being proactive business wise, you know, to where you don't have to have a new business, just don't have the business leave because you're taxing the business out of being able to stay here, and the seniors of being able to stay here. They just figure just keep squeezing. And to me, that's lazy government because you don't want to work and do what it takes to protect your state. When there was a guy, I don't know if it's still true, he had a sign over in Delmarva. They had this huge sign that said tax-free alcohol. So if you were a Maryland retailer right there, well, your labor, your minimum wage was double than what his is. The cigarette tax is off the chain. I think it's like 50%, something insane like that. But then he already had a 9% advantage on alcohol because it's zero here and there. So why would that resident not drive over top there? When you can stand there and watch it, not understanding that you border a Delaware, that you border all these other places, and just go, yeah, that's what they do. Yeah, they're doing it because they're kicking your tail. That's why they're doing it. Delaware would love to do those things. I know every state has its problems and nothing's perfect. But just small things like that and watching Maryland businesses leave. I don't watch it like you guys do. You guys are the pro. I can't think the last time I've heard some major business wants to come to Maryland. And why you would not want to come here with all the shipping areas that we have in Baltimore, you know, all DC right there. I mean, all these things. And they still choose to relocate somewhere else. And I'm not meaning opening up 20 Walmarts. that doesn't make you any money. I mean, the real businesses that pay the big wages, the pensions, like when Calvert Cliffs, how impactful that nuke plant was here. I mean, I just don't get it. I mean, and watching other states thrive, and they just go, we'll just tax more. It's going to make them all leave.
So I think there's a broad conversation about the whole public policy mix, like level of service and investment in education, and what do you do with taxes, and where do you bring the revenues from, and so forth. Which, like, every state grapples with that. If you happen to be Florida and you have a zillion people come to Disney World, you can make so much money on hotels and rental cars and so forth. You don't have to have an income tax. Fine, it's really easy. It makes a great place. I think that's like an open question for every state to try and figure out where to position yourselves. Does Maryland have an opportunity to try and beat out Tennessee or Alabama or Mississippi or Texas and become that much of a magnet? Could we become a super low tax state? Probably not. So I don't know what the right answer there is.
I know Baltimore lost a lot of real business over the years with the steel industry and things of that nature. And
right.
I mean, that put real money in the bank account. And so where is the think tank of, okay, what is next? Because the country's not going away, and the business is just changing. So, but like you say, instead of all this, like, just pressure on you, like you said, there's somebody up there thinking how to squeeze more and more and more. Why isn't that thought process? Why isn't somebody thinking, how do we attract more money? Because you can only squeeze. They say you can only squeeze that sponge so much.
Well, that gives you a great segue into the next thing Michael chooses to talk about after education, which is energy, which is very familiar to you guys down here, but the usage of places like a Calvert Cliffs and what that's going to look like. And to answer your question somewhat, if you take what the governor said at Winter Mako, where do they want to go? We want to be in the AI world, and we want to be in the bio, whatever that long word is he used for. That's where they want to go. That's what the intentions are, to become more of a, I guess, science-based economy here. Service science, I would say.
Which creates what, 3 jobs?
I mean, I think it creates high-paying jobs, but yeah, I don't know the quantity that it creates, quite frankly, because a lot of stuff's done by robotics and stuff like that in that industry. So I'm
And
not
as
sure.
bad as we need energy, like you say, where's that third reactor? We all know.
They're too busy focusing on solar.
Yeah.
Yeah, nuclear has been the cash cow for so long. I mean, it drives Europe. I mean, the resources that are here, and like you say, solar.
You're preaching to the choir coming from Queen Anne's County, where solar is.
Wait a minute, we have no authority over solar.
Right, large scale solar. We lost in the courts a number of years ago. The legislature gave us back a nickel on the dollar, basically, on authority from the big bill with a lot of attention last year. We got one tool, which is if you have a priority preservation area, if you get to 5% of that area filled up with solar, you can start saying no. That's new authority, but that's cold comfort, at least for the near-term frontier. I don't know if we get to multiple counties hitting that threshold at some point and it feels like we're overwhelmed, but that's the only new piece that we got out of the big debate last year. I think they're mostly done with the policy debate in Annapolis about clean energy siting and so forth, the sort of zoning issues that matter for local governments. I will say, though, they're going to get a ton of pressure about people's electric bills. Just
Absolutely.
The latest capacity auction spikes 28%, and that's only because there was a deal in advance to say we're not going more than 28% up. Otherwise, it would have been 40, 60, 80, who knows? But right now, I mean, you all know with giant facilities here and being more in tune maybe than some jurisdictions, but America has not been in the capacity building business for the most part. We took the 80s and 90s and 2000s kind of off here and there, but not in a wholesale way.
Absolutely right.
Really building out stuff. So we've got all sorts of generation stock that is more or less timed to be shuttered. Up in Anne Arundel, Brandon Shores, supposed to go offline. May or may not actually happen. But if it doesn't happen, it's because we have a massive spike in demand. It's people love the AI and high-tech stuff. They need these data centers to run all the computing power, and the data centers are monstrous users of energy. We know there's this live debate about could we co-locate something or another in and around Calvert Cliffs and buy it wholesale before it gets to the larger meter. That debate is happening everywhere. Everybody who wants to build a power plant is looking for, let's fire up old 3 Mile Island.
I was gonna say, that's
yep,
been played,
sure.
didn't,
That's in play,
Microsoft.
right?
yeah, he bought the place to, I mean,
Right.
that's what I'm saying, and here you got a place right there that knows what they're doing, they're first class, they are cutting edge with everything they do. I mean, why the state of Maryland, federal government would not
Well,
say-
right now, I think the state of Maryland's turned pro-nuclear. Even Senator Pinsky is preaching nuclear now.
SMR.
Yep.
They're not talking.
SMRs.
They're not talking big stuff
They're just
anymore. They're
half the size
The
of a
modular
nuke.
reactors.
But
It sounds like they're on board with them.
It's a 15-year process.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
That's what we're told.
Right.
That if they want to put an SMR, it'll be 15 years. Before
But a
it
lot of
goes
that's the
online.
feds, right? So
I was just saying, it has Maryland license.
the
that
license,
yet?
right?
But you don't get it in 15 years unless you start right now.
Right.
Right? I mean, the best time to build the tree was 30 years ago. The next best time is right now, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
And there's no discussion in Annapolis to repower the plants that they've shut down with cleaner energy. No discussion.
Well, LNG, they did have that discussion to retrofit, but just what I just recently heard, because I'm an electrician by trade, full disclosure, so I hear a lot of the inside stuff. The generators for the LNGs are 4 to 5 years out in back order, because believe it or not, Europe's converting away from solar and wind. Who'd have thought, right?
Right.
They're always a step ahead of us, right? They're going to send all their old windmills and
so
solar.
efficient.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But what I will say though, so you guys are in a different scenario than any other place we visited, obviously, because you have a nuclear plant here, but you have the infrastructure, right? And this is what I try to tell people coming from the shore. We can cover 400,000 acres of Eastern Shore farmland with solar, but it's got nowhere to go. We don't have transmission lines to get it. Our transmission lines run right up 301, which from Worcester County, last time I checked, is probably close to 80 miles that you're going to run medium transmission, which, again, now you're taking people's land. You're running into that same thing they're running up to in Frederick and Baltimore County.
And how much did it cost to
for
do?
them? Well, if that's just it. It becomes cost prohibitive.
That's right.
And with the subsidies and all that being pulled back at the federal level, what's the viability of a lot of these projects? And where are you going to get the money to build the infrastructure that's not in place by the companies that are actually distributing the power? And me and Michael talked about this on just about every ride we've had, is people don't understand the difference between distribution and generation, right? 2000, we decided, is when deregulation hit at the highest, right? So BG&Es, they couldn't make their own power anymore. They could only send it to where it had to go, right? They weren't allowed to do that anymore because that was a monopoly. Well, now here we are 25 years later, and rates are spiking through the roof. And what's the highest increase in your electric bill right now? Distribution. Because generation, they're only going to generate what they have to. And it's getting it there is what's costing them money. And to Michael's point about AI and all, them lines got to be bigger to get that power there for these AI facilities. So we're just kind of in the dog is chasing his tail. And I just think in Annapolis, not only Annapolis, all across the country, we're not having an honest conversation about energy. And energy's got to be the most diverse portfolio we have in this country. I don't care where it comes from right now, until we get to a stable point. It has to be all hands on deck, anything. Outside the box, inside the box, you got to use it all. Otherwise, your taxpayers, our taxpayers, statewide, the rates are just going to keep going up to where they're unaffordable for our fixed income folks and all that stuff.
My business broke $3,000 electric bill twice this year. As an all-time high, I've been there 16 years, had back-to-back months over $3,000 electric bill.
You'll pray for the day when that comes back.
Yeah.
I know, that's what it feels like.
And this governor last session put in legislation saying, well, we want to be more open to natural gas than we have been as a solution between now and a perfectly clean future. And he wanted to say, we want to have an approval process for nuclear of whatever, the small scale and so forth. Like, we want to be thinking about the other elements of a larger portfolio. And he's taken flack. He's taken flack from the green wing, saying that's not what we want. We want perfectly clean. We want wind and so hydro and so forth. Anyway, it's like this stuff is fraught with difficulty, but it's going to remain hot. I don't know what a state
But
legislature
the bad
could
thing
do
is,
to
like you
beat the
say,
market.
taking flack, But if you truly polled, and I don't know how many Marylanders there are, I don't know what that total number is.
6 million.
You know what they're worried about? Food on the table. Now, I know we don't want to live, in a contaminated area, and we understand about our tributaries, this, that, and the other. But there have been energy sources. I mean, I hate going back to the nuclear thing all the time. How clean is nuclear? You know what I mean? It's been proven time and time again to be such a great source, a reliable source. This state, what gets 30%? Is that the number?
40 of 60, right? It's 40 of 60, I think is the number I just read.
Just that one facility.
Right.
And the careers that it's done, the school system that I went through, what they did for that school system. We were so far behind everything.
I was
And
a
it's-
second-year apprentice there 41 years ago.
Were you really?
Yeah.
And-
But I was only there for 4 weeks, and I
Good for
tested
you.
hot and had to leave.
And I'm not
Once
trying
that
to,
buzzer goes off, you're not coming back the next day. So.
and I'm not trying to oversimplify it, but all this new stuff they're going to try to come up with that's not developed and not proven to be efficient and to deliver, consistent power, which that's key to let the power blink right now and everything shuts down, right? I mean, it's, you can never.
I think the tide has turned on that. I think that, conditions are right. I think
Eyes
they
are-
are interested in
Eyes are awake.
SMRs, and we are 100% behind them.
So
But
are we
it's-
on the shore.
They tell us 15 years
That's
before that thing will
crazy.
go online if they
That's
start
crazy.
today. And it's crazy, Mike, but it's government, federal
and
and
the rest
state.
of the
What's
world
funny-
doesn't wait that long.
What's funny about the bills that went through Annapolis this year, there were the three main energy bills that went through. Obviously, the solar was one. The other two, that one passed, the other one passed. The one that didn't pass, which was the one that blew my mind, was the task force, right? The 10-year.
It was sort of a multi-year plan,
yeah.
and like develop a strategic
Right.
energy plan, and they couldn't find their
They-
way to
they-
even
they didn't-
putting that
The
together.
one they didn't pass was the one to look ahead at how do we solve this issue,
Imagine that.
which
Right.
I think when we had our rural county coalition call, we talked about it. It's like, well, we're going to support this, which is just 10 years too late. I mean, you're supporting something that should have happened 10 years ago, right?
Like you said with the tree. It's a great analogy.
Yeah, so, that's going to be on the table. I don't know what there is for a state legislature to do to try and contradict these market forces. They squeezed out a bill last year to say everybody gets a $40 refund a couple of times, that sort of thing. Okay, like you can drain a strategic investment fund and throw some money to people once in a while, but the market is bigger than what the state can do about it. I don't know what the resolution here is, but. And if it turns into, hey, make the big energy hogs find their own generation as part of a condition for their approval, they'll just go to West Virginia. They'll go to Pennsylvania. They'll have them.
And I learned at Mako, we have the lowest utility rates in the whole state. SMECO.
Right? I think that's been reliably true for some window of time. So.
But they buy at public auction, like you
Right,
said.
and for how long?
They're at the mercy. They
That's
buy
right,
power in,
It-
increments.
Even though a bunch of this is regulated, it's still a market. And,
That's right.
and demand is spiking, and that means prices go up. That's it. That's not even economics 201. That's just 101.
Doesn't matter whether you
Right.
have a data center in your county or not. The
That's
power bills are going up.
That's
What
right.
was the outcome of the distribution bill?
They really didn't have anything focused truly on distribution. So it's kind of the unspoken. Part of this is because the multi-state entity is mostly charged with being the signal caller on distribution. So it's PJM,
PJM.
which stretches across 7 different states all the way out to like Ohio and so forth. So PJM kind of calls the shots on distribution. And right
13
now,
states.
distribution is politically white hot because Maryland is the belt between the supplier in Pennsylvania and the demander, the data centers in Loudoun County, Virginia. And we've got folks, thousands of people, 1,000 people come out to the Carroll County open forum with the county commissioners. They all tell their county commissioners, vote no on this. And they're like, we don't get to vote on this. There is no local decision making on this. They just come in and tell us where the stuff's going to go. So I don't know where the play is. That's why I'm a little puzzled by what a state legislature can do. But I'll be shocked if we don't see leadership efforts and other waves of like, I want to do this about power bills. I want to make Pepco pay my residents back this much money or do this or that or who knows what.
I would say hold your breath.
I just think they'll spend a lot of time on this somehow. Let me at least quickly mention sort of ancillary to the comment about like how do we green light more growth and so forth. There's a there's a rider argument along with the business climate, and that is that we're not approving enough housing. Depending on whose report you read, we're either 80,000 or 90,000 or 130,000 units short of where we should be with housing available for Maryland residents. And whether that's market forces, partially yes, or whether it's dumb local zoning and slow local approvals, maybe partially yes. Whether it's state agencies who can't get out of each other's way, partially yes. But we're not doing enough on that front, and I think it's very likely something passes this year. Governor put in a bill last year that ultimately failed. There were a lot of technical and practical issues with last year's bill, but they're going to make another swing at it. And in an election year where they're going to want to announce things that they've accomplished and won on, but they don't have two nickels to rub together, perfect kind of topic, right? Make us change our zoning processes. If you have things like minimum lot sizes or parking limit mandates or other things like that, expect a lot of attention on that sort of stuff. We'll be playing defense on local input. We think community input on these processes is still important. That it shouldn't be the state agency who just rubber stamps all the projects, but state-owned land getting to do what they want, the state joining in as a partner in other housing projects to get them fast-tracked. There's going to be a lot of stuff on the table that's going to be difficult.
They've already mandated
difficult for
ADUs. They took away most all of our authority over ADUs.
They made you come up with a policy that ticks a whole series of boxes, and that was a big walk back from what they had originally intended to do, which would be throw out your local law and completely do it one way. You got more flexibility than they had in mind at first. I know it's not perfect, but
So they're gonna mandate housing.
I think we're going to see a bill that makes us change local processes and probably eliminates our ability to make late in the game changes when there's a project that's already underway. I don't want to get super deep on this, but Maryland is a late vesting state that you're entitled to certainty once you put down a footer on a project. Once you've done some meaningful work on the site, then whoever does zoning in that area can't come back and change the rules on you. You're locked in at that point. In some states, you get that at the approval process. Once somebody says preliminarily approved, you can start, coming up with the plans and raising your financing. You're locked in at that point. Developers would love to make Maryland an early vesting state.
Sure they would, because they would buy everything and start to, and I hope that's not a one-size-fits-all, because I will tell you, the infrastructure is not here. I mean.
It is one size fits all. They've already approved ADUs.
Well,
We can't stop them.
But if all of a sudden they go to where you can't limit how many units per acre and things of that, we don't have the septic for it.
You can't limit ADUs.
So I would say on the issue of one size fits all, governor's bill last year originally came in and it only affected, I think, 9 jurisdictions. It was a calculation of whether you have a housing shortage by this arithmetic. And zoning, planning staff and the various counties like, nope, this isn't us. We're not going to fail that test, so we won't be in the bill. There's at least a possibility that the fight ends up being about what they really want. In all candor, I think the legislative leaders and the administration would really like to move the needle on housing. They want to see density in Silver Spring. They want to see more buildings in Towson and in Columbia. And
they want apartments and townhouses as far as the eye can see.
Nobody's interested in 60 more units on septic on the partially failing septic systems in Calvert County or in Snow Hill or in outside Hagerstown. That's not the development that they're really interested in. They want to see 21 units of dense development in Silver Spring, Montgomery County. And they get, they don't have the school seats for it.
They're finally pushing back. But they've been the biggest part of the problem. They've been this one size fits all, and we got all the votes, and what we say goes and everything else. And then I'm watching, they're like, well, we don't have the infrastructure for all this.
And we don't want their growth.
Well, you started it.
And if you're right and they want to push it to Silver Spring, then I'm all for that. But they're not going to stop there, Michael. I don't believe that for a minute. I think the ADU was the first step in the cost shift. They nibble away at cost shift, figure out how far they can get, and once that train leaves the station, they're going to mandate housing.
You guys are in the same boat we are. We don't have, and made this argument for years about the affordable housing. Every time it came up at Mako, I said it every time, is first off, affordable housing is subjective. Michael has an entire theory about calculations, and I respect it. But to me, it's a subjective number. What's affordable to me may not be to you, may not be to you, whatever. But I made mine affordable because I worked 2 jobs to do it back in the day, right? But at the end of the day, when you start looking at infrastructure, and I keep saying this, the only way you can get affordability is density, right? We all agree on that. Well, in Queen Anne's County, we're up against our limits on our sewer treatment plan says we are, right? They're not going to give us any more re-ratings. We had our 1 re-rating. Our towns, most of them are tapped out right now, and it's a process, and they don't have $45 million to do an upgrade. So, again, I agree with Michael wholeheartedly. It's not going to hit the rural areas anytime soon with the density, because then the state would have to change a lot of their policies. And I don't know if any of you have had to deal with MDE in the last 2 years, but those policies are only getting worse and more stringent against doing anything like that. So I feel like we'll probably have a break from this housing bill. The only reason that really the rest of the counties got drawn in, to Michael's point, was at the last minute, they did that whole vesting thing. Well, Queen Anne's County, we are the poster children for what something like that could look like, because we had a DRRA project that was signed in 1998. They didn't break ground on that project till 2022 because of the court cases and all that stuff. Under this here, with no expiration on the vesting, they could have come in and technically built that under the code from 1998, because you can't change it on me now, right? I know it's 20-some years later, but you can't change none of that stuff because this is what I signed it under. So that's the kind of thing you might be looking at, and while it may sound like an outlier, it could happen.
Oh, it
So we
does
had-
happen.
so we had to
not
protect
can, it
ourselves.
does happen.
Right, well, that's what drew all the
Happening right
rural
now,
counties
isn't it,
in.
Mike?
after the-
It
like
does
Michael said.
happen.
It was
Trust me on
not.
that. Without getting in the weeds here, it does happen. Oh, I know it was 40 years ago, but it was 40 years ago. I mean, it was 40 years ago.
We had somebody try to develop a plot that was platted in 1947 with 250 lots in the critical area, right?
Yeah.
And said, well, I have these are legally mine. And
Yeah.
there were 1/8-acre lots in the critical
Yes.
area. And yeah, right. Go ahead, talk to the state, see how far you get with that one. But yeah, I mean, but you know what, property, I'm a property rights person, right? But within, things change though, so there's limitations on
And
what
I'm with
can
you
do.
on that 1,000%. But you know what I say to that whole thing in 1,000%. But you are responsible for your footprint.
Absolutely.
If these businesses go out here and they think, hey, we'll build this, we'll build that, and they walk away, and they leave you with the bill every time. But so many other businesses are responsible for their footprint. I'm responsible. I don't know what business you do. So many businesses are responsible for their footprint. But I blast your reserves on your septic, what you can hold at your water and sewer facilities. Your roads can't handle it, your teachers can't handle it, your EMTs, all this stuff. So what, man? Hey, zoning said I could do it 90 years ago. And they could care less, and then they take that check and roll.
Yeah.
And that is so beyond frustrating. The law wasn't designed that way, but it's been manipulated that way, to where then they look at you like you did something wrong when you object to it. When I say, oh, you should have known. How would you known something 40 years ago when I was in high school? I never dreamed I would see some of the stuff that was out here, and neither did the Board of Commissioners that were sitting right here. Never dreamed that either. But somebody gets that book, and they learn to work it, and they don't have to work within those laws, and they're quicker and they're faster, because by the time you see it, and the public hearings, and the reaction, and what you got put in place, and then Maryland's thing, and this, that, and the other, and next thing you know, you're sitting there going, how did this happen?
I mean, again, I'm property rights, but I'm also realize the value of zoning, because you got to have zoning. I mean, I just found out via our travels that Allegheny County has no zoning. But if you go out there, there's no continuity to anything out there either. I mean, granted, they're in the hills, so it's kind of tough. But again, it's like you have zoning for a reason, because you don't want to put a sewer plant in a neighborhood where it was a structured neighborhood with 400 homes, and then let's just put a sewer plant right there in the middle. That makes sense, right?
So, not to get rocks thrown at me, years ago.
Got rocks here. Hold
Years
on a minute.
ago, I gotta worry about it. So years ago, I was sitting exactly in this chair, and I'm just gonna say a fictitious place. Let's call it I don't know, Hville. Hville builds houses. It was zoned for it, this, that, and the other. Just happened to be next to something that was very unpleasant, and both were legal. I have no clue about it. It was legal to build this, that, and the other. Real estate person never talked about it. Consumer never had a dream about it. But that first summer that rolled around, things got pretty ripe. And that first board I was on was sitting with, well, it's your facility doing it. Well, that facility was there first. But it was legal to build these houses there. And nobody disclosed anything to that poor person that's out there trying to burn a burger and their eyes are watering. Okay, so we had to go out and find technology and ways to defer that so it wasn't there. But none of that cost was spread anywhere except for the taxpayers.
Right. Yeah.
And that's something that when they do these things, there is no clause in there, well, if we do this and there's some unintended consequence, we're held responsible. No, hey, you said it, boom, we did it, we're gone.
It's the classic, I just moved in, please move your airport.
Boom. That's right. I didn't know what those airplanes were.
Exactly.
So we've been going for an hour, so.
I just wanted to say, I was on the MACO board for 2 years. Really appreciate all you all do with the bills and keeping us abreast of it. But I go to the MACO conferences and I don't feel kumbaya. I feel like this has been hell. We're getting all these costs passed down to us. Blueprint is just all over the place. You can't plan for anything. What are you doing with Winter MACO to give us hope, to educate us, is there anything? Because at this point, I've done all the leadership stuff. I'll be graduating and all of that, but I just, I walk in there and the people who are the counties that are getting handouts and have always enjoyed handouts are backslapping each other. And counties like us who have always played by the rules and have tried to make smart decisions and now are getting screwed and you don't see an end in sight. It's very depressing. Do you have any hope for us?
It's tough. I understand exactly what Catherine's saying. I've seen a decline, but it's almost like you all have a balancing act, and it's very, very hard for you to.
Well, I think
to make that happen.
MACO's core value and our core mission is to maintain local control at all costs, right? We want local autonomy, and that's where the fight becomes tougher because our biggest out, if you don't have the majority over there, your biggest thing you can do is make everything enabling, right? You'll hear us talk about that. That word is used a lot, to enable, which means if you would like to adopt it as Charles or Calvert or Queen Anne's County, whatever, fine. If you don't, then fine. The problem we get into, and you guys see it just like we do, is when they do these broad stroke brush bills, statewide bills like we're talking about with the ADUs. Nope, everybody's going to do this. It's not the same everywhere in the state. And that's, MACO, I would say that's probably the best card we get to play is the fact that we say, look, we don't care what you do in Annapolis for Prince George's County or Montgomery County. Just don't make the rest of the state do it.
Amen.
So,
But there's no skeleton key here, right? It doesn't behoove us to just circle the wagons and have a meeting among people who are angry. We have to, we're gonna do a session at this winter conference about this nonsense for unjust incarcerations and billing the county for half that cost. And we're gonna bring together the lawyers and the finance people and the staff. Wycomico County got the first bill a few months ago. But we're gonna break that down. They couldn't see it coming. They weren't able to budget for them. Now they've got an invoice for $350,000 out of the blue. They're gonna have a finance person say, am I supposed to set aside $1 million reserve for this sort of thing? How am I supposed to tell the bond rating agencies about this? We're gonna make the case, and in the room, we'll have one of the legislative subcommittee chairs on that policy issue in the room to hear the whole bit. And that's our way that I'm fairly confident. I think we can get that beaten. I think we can get that fended off. We're not going to get the whole pension thing and that sort of stuff, but go after the pieces that we can. We're going to fight this fight, and building bonds with both sides of the aisle in Annapolis is the only way to stay relevant and as effective as we can be.
Well, I agree.
I don't like losing big fights, and we do lose big fights. We also still we actually still punch above our weight on all sorts of medium and small size issues. We get a lot of stuff killed and changed and amended and softened and so forth along the way.
And that's important. A lot of those amendments you guys are bringing up in the bill reviews are you know, very important, without a doubt. And those baby steps do help. I
Okay.
agree with you 100% there.
If the best you can do is take a troublesome bill and turn it into a flexible thing, or give us an option, or give us more ways to satisfy the thing, okay, cut the deal. It's not as satisfying as spiking the football, but sometimes you kick field goal.
I
You just said
I
it.
want to make the comment too, that I told you, this is the upbeat version of the.
Yes.
This is the good news
We
version.
appreciate
You
that.
should have seen the first 8 counties.
But you just said it when you said about the stroke of a paintbrush. You know, you don't paint a house with an 8-inch roller, and each county is unique in its own way.
Absolutely.
But they don't get that. They have.
It's
these
a lot of
goals
it's
that they want to
agenda driven, let's face it. There's a lot of agenda driven stuff that goes in there.
We appreciate
Yeah.
your
Thank you.
time.
We
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
appreciate
Thank
y'all
We do.
coming
Thank
down for what you do for us in
Thank you.
Annapolis. And legit.
Thank you.
Look
Yes.
forward to it. Look forward to seeing y'all
I
at Winter
s-
Makeover.
We started back up before you know it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I know.
yeah, we see how hard you work.
Pre-files are already starting, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah. So, yep.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you all for making the drive.
Down the same area?
Yep.
So I need a
Ready for
motion to adjourn.
Ready for the same motion?
Oh, yeah, we gotta go back to exec
No,
session.
go back to exec session, not adjourn.
All right, I move to recess to executive session pursuant to general provisions, Article Section 3-305B1I to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom the board has jurisdiction. B3, to consider the acquisition of real property for a public purpose and matters directly related thereto. And B7, to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice.
Second.
I have a motion, a second to go into exec session. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Thank you
Thank
all.
you.
Have a great day.